for an illegal eviction, security deposits, and an assault.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin.
Hello, Judge. Case 2085, Schumann versus Back.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Schumann,
Yes, Your Honor.
I assume this is your wife?
My girlfriend
Girlfriend.
and my son, Blake.
And your girlfriend is here just for moral support? She wasn't living with you in the house?
She wasn't living with me, no, but she was
Sit down.
I was a witness.
Sit.
a part of it.
Sit down.
Big part of it.
She was not living at the house?
No.
Good. Just you and your son?
Yes.
And you were tenants of Mr. and Mrs. Back for how long?
I think it was 6 years.
Starting when?
When did I sign the lease?
August 2016.
Don't help him.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, 8/1/16.
And which unit do you rent? Because they also live in the house.
Yeah, it's 3 floors. I have the middle, and the top is just a little loft. Comes with a little loft.
And did you move in there with your son?
No, in the beginning, no. He wasn't with me.
Was it just you?
It was just me.
And when did he move in?
Probably 2 years later.
2018?
Yeah.
How old is he?
He's 15?
Now, in 2016, everything going well with your landlord?
Yeah.
Same landlord.
Yes.
What about 2017?
Everything's good.
Everything's going fine. 18? Must have been going fine because you brought your son in to live with you.
We did have a few incidences that I had to call the police then.
Okay, so in 2018, you had to call the police.
Yes.
When in 2018?
First time Mrs. Back came, and she had a problem with Blake. She said he walked too hard upstairs.
Okay. Now, before Blake came with you, with whom was he living?
With his mother.
How long was he living with his mother?
Since he,
Since he was born?
Yeah, since birth.
And did you visit with him before he came to live with you?
Yeah, I had him every other weekend and Tuesdays and Thursdays.
So something must have happened in 2018 because he's 15 years old, he's in high school. You want to tell me the reason? Angela, I want you to bear in mind, this is my business.
Yeah.
You want to tell me why your son came to live with you? And if you just want to say to me he and his mother weren't getting along, I will accept that.
No, that's not why. She wanted to move to Florida, and she said I could have Blake.
Interesting. Okay, so the first time you started to have trouble was when your son came and Mrs. Back said that he was walking too loud, making too much noise upstairs.
Yeah.
And how did she communicate that with you?
Well, Mr. Back was really the one who had the problem. At night, because Blake would go from his bedroom to the bathroom, and he walked too loud. That was it.
So what did you do?
Well, that was that.
I want to know why you called the police.
Well, why he called the police was because finally, this was the following year when she...
No, just a second. So that was it. In 2018, they told you that your son was walking too heavy.
Yeah.
In the middle of the night, going from his room to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Okay, but that didn't require a call to the police. So I'm waiting.
Well,
This is not a well.
decided
You
to
call the police.
confront
I want to
me.
tell you something. I've been a tenant for most of my life. I've never called the police on the landlord. So this is not an answer that starts with well. When was the first time you called the police regarding Mr. and Mrs. Back, and for what reason?
she illegally entered my apartment. She used her key to come into my house.
Okay, don't speak. I told you not to speak.
Okay, I'm sorry.
When did she use a key to come into your apartment?
What time of the day?
No,
It was during the
month?
day, and,
Month?
I don't remember. I mean, I have the police report.
Oh, I'd like to see it.
Yeah.
Well, that will tell me.
The door was open, Your Honor. Sorry.
What part don't you understand? You want me to just grant his application and say goodbye to you?
I'm sorry. Sorry.
I know I had it. No, I have it, but
You have it, but you don't have it.
well,
Okay, so that was sometime, according to you, in 2018/19, she entered your apartment without your permission using a key.
yes.
And as a result of that, what happened?
Well, the officer
It's
came.
not a well.
Yep, the officer
So
came.
she came in and you found out that she had been in your apartment. How did you...
Yeah, I was
how
upstairs.
did-
I was in the apartment, and she came in.
Oh, she used her key
Yeah,
and came in and you were there.
yes.
Tell me about that incident. So she came
After
in...
she confronted Blake, then I went upstairs.
Just a second. She confronted Blake and you went upstairs. Upstairs from where?
From downstairs. We were,
So
we
you
were
wa-
coming, we were coming home. She came running down the block, saw that we were home, and started telling Blake that he walks too loud. You're walking too loud. You're walking too loud.
Just a second. She's in the street.
She was coming. She saw us and she's coming
You
back.
said you were outside. You were outside. First you tell me, if I'm not mistaken, Whitney, he said he was in the apartment when she came in. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. First you told me you were in the apartment. That's not accurate. This happened outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it happened outside, and she was yelling at your son that he was walking too loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, not yeah, yes.
Yes.
Okay. And now she's outside coming from the beach. She's telling him, you're coming inside, keep going.
Then we went inside. I said, okay.
Just a
then-
second.
I said, okay, I'll tell him to walk a little softer, levitate a little bit. And we went inside, and I got onto the phone talking to somebody. I guess she heard me talking, and she opened her key and came up the stairs and started yelling.
Okay.
I wasn't yelling at Blake. I wasn't doing this to Blake. I wasn't doing that to Blake.
All right, next. 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 I'll tell you what this case is about so that everybody understands what this case is about. You're claiming that they illegally evicted you. That's one thing. You claim that they have your security deposit. And what else do you want? You say that there was a simple assault because when yelling at you, one of them spit on you.
It was a lot more than yelling.
I don't care what's yelling. Nobody hit you. That's either a yes or a no.
No.
Caption coming up.
You panicked
Yes.
because somebody was looking for your father and you knew it was the landlord.
No, I didn't. I
But-
thought someone was trying to break in.
Blake, let's get real, okay? Let's stop with the scripted scenario that your father is giving you, because
it
if
wasn't
don't
scripted.
speak.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Daniel, Diana, and Donald.
Daniel Schumann claims his former landlords, Diana and Donald Back, owe for an illegal eviction, security deposit, and an assault. Diana and Donald are countersuing for apartment damage.
Now, illegal eviction, return of security deposit. And you lived there until when?
Until June of this year.
Now, in June, something happened, and that's where your girlfriend has some information, because it was June.
3rd.
You are Gina.
Yes.
Perfect. You and Gina were in bed asleep. Does Gina have her own car?
Yes.
Do you have a car?
Yes.
So that's 2 cars.
Yes.
Where are you supposed to park?
Well, we don't have a driveway, so you can park on the street if you want.
Okay, so you weren't parked anywhere near the house,
No, across the street.
correct?
Yes.
So his cars weren't blocking yours.
Yes, they were.
Where was your car parked?
My car was parked out front behind his disabled spot that he has for himself, and only him. I was
Just a
parked
second.
behind him.
There's a disabled parking spot on a public street?
Yes, but it's only his, for his number only. So no one else could park there, or they get ticketed and towed.
Even if you're disabled.
Shh.
Yeah, even if you're disabled, you're not allowed.
Did you get a spot assigned to you, sir, assigned to your car because of a disability?
Yes.
What's the nature of the disability?
I had 2 cracked vertebrae in my neck. I dislocated my left shoulder. I have herniated and ruptured discs in my lower back and nerve damage down my left leg.
So you have a place to park.
Yes.
Were you or your girlfriend Gina in any way blocking Mr. and Mrs. Back's car?
No.
Okay. Did you see where they were parked?
Yeah, she was parked on the street in front of the house.
Their car was parked in the street in front of the house?
Yes.
Okay. Go. June 3rd. Where was your car?
So my car was parked behind his disabled spot. My husband came in and showed me a ticket that was on my car, and I couldn't understand it because there's no meters or anything. And when I went to look at the ticket, it took me a little time. I checked it. It was for unregistered vehicle. First time in my life I've ever done something like that. I went online right away because I said, I know I did this in April in my mind because I do everything online. Obviously, I never sent it through, and I didn't realize it. Cops in the town have a scanner. They scanned my car, they gave me a ticket. I am
Okay.
responsible for that. I understand that. But when I spoke to the cop, he said...
Now, don't tell me what the cop
well,
said.
I can get a ticket every 12 hours. So I panicked. I said, okay, I'm going to try...
Now I understand what's happening.
I needed to get my
Shh,
car
just
off
a
the
second.
road.
So now I understand what happened. She got a ticket parking on the street. And the ticket for parking on the street was for having an unregistered vehicle.
Yes.
Your car was not parked in your designated handicapped spot. Instead, you and Gina were parked in the street.
Yes.
So she came to you to ask you to take your car and put it in your handicapped spot so that she could park in the driveway.
No.
Well,
we just asked for, just needed one of them. Can you see
Just a
look
sec.
at this picture?
Just a sec.
And then you'll understand what I mean.
You asked one of them to move their car?
I tried to just get in touch with both of them at this point, just get their attention.
You said, Miss Back, no to me very fast. I want you to listen
No,
to
I
what
didn't
I
ask them
said.
to go in. There's six parking spots on this lot. So I didn't need him to go in his spot, is what I'm trying to say.
It doesn't
I
matter.
just needed him
You need to
for me
move?
get through. He could have stayed there the whole night if he wanted to.
Okay. And what time was this?
My husband walked in about 20 to 9. I started to look it up, thinking that something was wrong. By the time I figured that out, then I knocked on the door.
Just a second.
No
Give me a
answer.
time that you went to his door to knock at the door.
I started knocking on the door about 9 o'clock, a little bit after, maybe 9 o'clock. And then I proceeded to text, and I proceeded to call.
Okay. Now, prior to that, Mr. Schumann, prior to that date, at about 9 o'clock, when was the time immediately prior that you called the police about the behavior or a complaint about Mr. and Mrs.
That was
Back?
after. Okay.
What don't you understand?
When I called the police, it was probably about 9:45.
No, prior to that night, when she wanted you to move your car, when was the time immediately preceding that you called the police about any conduct of Mr. and Mrs. Back?
Yeah, I don't remember the date.
Give me the month and year.
Oh, wow. It was
So far, we have
maybe
2018.
maybe 2020.
So that was the second time that you've called the police?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You keep saying that.
Okay.
2020. What was that about?
What that was about was she was downstairs with her friends. They were smoking so much marijuana that we couldn't breathe on the second and third floor. And Mrs. Zanino called her and said, you guys got to knock it off. You got to stop. We can't breathe up here. Had to open the windows, had to turn on fans, and I had Blake there.
May I see the police report?
That one I don't have. They wouldn't give it to me. They said because
Just a second. That they said you don't have that police report, but that you called because of smoking marijuana.
Yes.
Okay. And that was the time immediately preceding the call at 9:45 in June of 2022.
Yes.
There were no calls in between.
No.
Is that correct?
One after, but not before.
One after.
2 days later.
2 days after
The altercation. Yeah.
After the altercation. Okay. So now, according to you, you and Gina are in bed, sound asleep at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Where is your son?
He's downstairs on the second floor. That's where his bedroom is.
Okay. But downstairs, when you want to get in, do you get in from the second floor or the third?
Come in the house, you got to come in from the first floor. And then
Walk up a flight of
Yeah.
stairs. So you have
Yeah.
to pass where your son is. Your son is on the second floor.
Oh, yeah. If I'm going up to the loft, the bedroom door is right there. Yeah.
Okay. What's your son's first name?
Blake.
Blake, stand up. Move over next to your father.
Blake rises.
You're 15 years old?
Yes.
15-year-olds don't go to sleep at 9 o'clock at night. June 3rd, 2022, where were you?
I was in the bathroom.
You were in the bathroom?
Yes.
All night?
No, not all night.
Well, when were you in the bathroom?
Around 9:30
When did you hear banging on the door?
was around that time.
It was around 9:30?
Yes.
What did you do?
Well, I didn't know what was going on.
No, you heard banging at the door?
Yes.
Did somebody say something?
Well.
Not well. Look at me. All you have to do is remember this. Don't speak, Mr. Schumann. Don't speak to him.
No, he's nervous.
Don't speak to him. He won't have to be nervous if he tells the truth. So you see, you just have to cool it. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect.
Caption coming up.
There are people who call the police on you all the time. You're going to get down on the ground, kiss the ground, and say, thank God for they're not in my house anymore. Do you understand?
Kind of.
He's happy. What do you mean, kind of?
Well,
what do you
I
mean,
wasn't
kind
ready for the change at the time.
Oh, you sound
time.
ridiculous. You sound ridiculous.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Daniel, Blake, Diana, and Donald.
Daniel Schumann has accused his former landlords, Diana and Donald Back, of wrongfully evicting him and keeping his security deposit.
You came here. You brought him. Just remember that. You came.
I know.
You brought him. What did you hear when you heard banging at the door?
I heard Don scream, Dan.
You heard Mr. Back
Yes. Mr.
scream what?
Dan and
Dan.
yes.
And that's your father?
Yes.
How many times did you hear him scream Dan?
Only once.
Once. And are you out of the bathroom?
Well, I did.
Oh, that's not an
Sorry.
Are you out of the bathroom or still in the bathroom?
I'm still in the bathroom.
Okay, so you're still in the bathroom.
Yes.
Was the door open or closed?
Closed.
Closed. So behind a closed door in the bathroom, you heard Dan from the floor below.
Yes.
Dan. Now, what did you hear after that? Is not an answer. What did you hear after that? Dan. Now, you knew somebody was looking for your father.
Oh, well, I panicked, sort of.
You panicked?
Yes.
Because somebody was looking for your father and you knew it was the landlord?
Yeah.
You knew it was the landlord?
No, I didn't.
You just told me that...
I thought someone was trying to break in.
Your Honor, you have to understand.
Just a second. Blake, let's get real, okay? Let's stop with the scripted scenario that your father is giving
No,
you. Because
it
if...
wasn't scripted.
Don't speak. Because at 9 o'clock at night, if somebody is banging at the door and calling your father's name, then it doesn't sound like a break-in to me. If somebody's banging at my door and somebody is yelling out, Nana, Nana, I know they're not trying to break into my house.
It wasn't
Do you
banging
understand?
at the door.
Do you understand?
It was the whole house was shaking.
Okay.
The entire
okay,
house.
Mr. Schuman, I'm not speaking to you. Do you understand? You brought this ridiculous lawsuit. You brought this ridiculous
The
lawsuit.
truth has to be told. I can't tell
Just
the
a
truth.
second.
Because they're lying.
Mr. Schuman,
No, you're lying.
You're lying.
Mr. Schuman, you brought this ridiculous lawsuit, except for one thing. I'm finished with you. Sit down.
Blake sits.
Your Honor, I wasn't even the one who called the cops at first.
Just a second.
The neighbor across the street called first because...
Mr. Schuman, you have a police report?
Yeah.
Then I'd like to see where the neighbor across the street called the police.
Yeah, that says it in
Just
there.
a second. I'd like to see it.
He also called.
Shh.
Okay.
Yeah, when I called, they said someone else has already called.
Give this back. Give this back. They don't understand not to talk. All right. I'm about finished with you. You moved out?
Yes, I was illegally
Great.
evicted.
Great. It's a great thing that you moved
told
out.
to get
It's a
out.
great thing that you moved out because you don't want to be with such bad landlords who yell and scream in the middle of the night, who smoke marijuana around your 15-year-old son who would never think of doing that, right? Right?
Yes.
Yes, of course. And so it's a good thing that you found someplace else to go.
Well, it is a good thing.
It's a very, very
The
good
amount
thing.
of stress that's off me now.
Perfect. Then it's what we call a mitzvah that you moved out, okay? The only thing that I'm entertaining on either side is, on your side, the return of your security deposit. Do you understand?
Yes.
How much was your security deposit?
$1,750.
When you left, did you get any of your security deposit back?
No.
What date did you leave?
It was the last day of June.
So it was June 30th, and you paid June's rent.
Yes.
So now you're going to have to explain to me, Mr. and Mrs. Back, and I think I'm going to go to Mrs. Back, why you kept their security deposit.
Well, Your Honor, he signed a lease when he first moved in.
Just tell me why you kept their security
Because
deposit.
he was asked to give me 60 days notice, written 60 days notice.
Forget it. There are people who call the police on you all the time. You're going to get down on the ground, kiss the ground, and say, thank God for they're not in my house anymore. Do you understand? Do you understand?
Kind of.
He's happy. What do you mean, kind of?
Well,
what do you
I
mean,
wasn't
kind
ready for the change at the time. That's why I always ask for 60 days notice.
Oh, you sound
Because I need time.
ridiculous.
I'm sorry.
You sound ridiculous. Do you understand why she sounds ridiculous? You had very, very bad experience with your tenants. Police were called. I don't know, I've lived in places all my life. Police were never called on me as a tenant. I never called police on a landlord. Out there in the near audience, I want to know how many of you ever called the police about your landlord. Raise your hand. I just want some idea. Raise your hand. Don't tell me the truth. Okay, good. Now, how many ever called the police on a tenant? Look at all this. How many times?
Twice.
Great. Landlord or tenant?
On a tenant.
You called about a tenant?
Yes.
About a disruptive tenant?
Yes.
So, with the exception of Kevin, who is a businessman, entrepreneur when he's not here, taking care of my business here, and he called the police twice because of a tenant. Nobody else has ever called the police, so you should say, thank you, landlord for getting rid of these tenants who called the police and not give me baloney about a 60-day notice. Now, if that's why you kept their security deposit, which is what you said to me,
Right.
then he gets a security deposit back, $1,750. And that's the only reason you gave me.
It's $1,725, but
Just
I
a second.
didn't finish.
1725. You did finish. I said, what was the reason? I asked you twice.
Well,
what was the
what
reason? And
happened prior
what was the
is
reason?
I was letting him go from the 17th when he texted my husband to the 17th. The only thing I wanted in return is access. He said, no, see you in court. So I turned around and held him to his lease.
Very good. Not here.
Why?
Not here.
Okay.
$1,750. He gets a security deposit back. $1,750 or $1,725?
It's $1,750.
Take a look. Let's get the number right.
The lease.
This is fascinating.
He signed his lease that says $1,725.
Okay. You have information to the contrary, Mr. Schuman.
No, she's right. $1,725.
$1,725. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done. Counterclaim is dismissed. We're finished. That's it.
Court is adjourned.
Diana, then Daniel.
Judge Judy was right about I should be counting my blessings that they're gone.
It was over a silly parking spot.
I'm glad he's out, but I don't think he deserves his security.
I mean, I couldn't teach him how to levitate. I tried, as much as I tried, we couldn't get it.
Sarah and Judy.
I'll never understand why acrimonious
Video services.
Court come to order. All rise.
Thank you. Have a seat.
Kevin.
Hello, Judge. Case 2089, Brooks versus Manley.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Brooks, you are a realtor.
Yes.
And you also decided to go into the business of buying houses, fixing them up, and flipping them.
That's correct, Your Honor.
When did you decide to do that?
I started my company in 2017.
Was that just a real estate company, or was that the company that bought houses and renovated them and sold them? Which one?
That was my company that I started for flipping houses.
Do you have a partner in that business?
No, it's just myself.
From 2017 until now, how many houses have you sold and flipped?
This would have been my third one.
The house that we're talking about now.
Yes.
And when did you purchase that house?
I purchased it in March of 2020.
How much did you pay for it?
$200,000.
This is what the case is about. For that house, just that house, you commissioned Mr. Maney,
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor.
and you're a videographer,
Yes, Your Honor, photographer and videographer.
to video for the purposes of advertising the project from start to finish, what it looked like when you purchased it, and sort of ongoing throughout the process, taking video of what you did to change cosmetically the inside and or the outside of the house. And you had an agreed price with him, which you paid. How much was that?
$1,919.
And it is your claim that since Mr. Maney did not finish the project and did not take the end product of what the house looked like when it was finished, you acknowledge he did come at other times and took video of what the house looked like at the beginning and the middle. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
But didn't do the video of the end, that you want your entire $1,919 back.
Yes, Your Honor.
Whatever he says. Mr. Maney says that you were difficult, that it was impossible, the job was supposed to take 4 months, it took almost a year, he didn't sign on for that, which may be. But more important, is there a video? Do you have a video of what he took? Do you have a video of what you gave her?
I have in my Google Drive a ton of video of what I've taken, but at the end, I have evidence showing we had scheduled for me to come in and do that final video. Everything was on point. Then she tells me here,
No,
it's going to be completed.
Just a second.
Oh, sorry.
I'm going to let you have an opportunity
Okay, sorry, Your Honor.
to tell me what your defense is to this case, if you need one. I just want to see some video of what you took. Doesn't anybody have that here? I mean, if 3/4 of the project was completed with video, and the only thing, according to you, that he didn't do was the end, that's what you just told me, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so did he give you the video that was done?
I got nothing, Your Honor.
Your Honor, she has had access to the Google Drive with all of the video components in there. I cannot complete the final edits to put everything together until she completed things on her part, which was never done.
You mean
which was spoken about from the beginning.
completing things on her part meant completing the house.
Completing the house, talking points.
Okay,
to go
but
through.
video is completing the house.
That's part of it.
Part of it, and the other one is audio where she tells you what's been done.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm just thinking out loud. Why didn't you do that yourself?
Your Honor, I never had a video to be able to go and do my...
No, I'm saying, did you have access to what he had done up until that time? That's either a yes or a no. Did you have video capability of seeing what video he had shot?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Do you have some evidence to show me that the plaintiff had access to the video that you had shot of 3/4 of the project being completed?
I believe I have something in here about uploading stuff into the Google Drive, which if she didn't have access to that Google Drive, then how did she upload the final walkthrough video that I do have evidence of that is not professional, that I was unable to complete due to her lack of commitment?
Just a second. You have video of what?
There is video evidence of the final walkthrough that was done by somebody on a phone camera because she canceled on me last minute when we were supposed to do it.
Just a second. Where did you get that evidence from?
She uploaded it into the Google Drive that had all of the videos, which she had access to, obviously,
so
if she put it in there.
So what you're saying is Miss Brooks added a video of a final walkthrough that was done by whom?
My son.
By her son. And she added that final walkthrough to the Google Drive, and therefore you were able to get it. And she tacked that on to the work that you did complete. Is that what you're telling me?
All of the rest of the videos are in the same Google Drive.
Were in the same Google Drive?
Which she had access
I
to
got
the entire...
Now I'd like to see the video.
A video appears on a monitor.
Which is not professional quality.
Footage of a kitchen area, then of a living room. Judy turns to Rosa.
What did you do with that, Miss Brooks?
Your Honor,
what did you do with it?
Nothing.
Caption coming up.
At first you told me you didn't have access, that you never saw them. Then they were available to you and your son to be able to look at them. You say you never looked at them. I actually find that unbelievable, Ms. Brooks. I find it unbelievable that you had them and you didn't look at them.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Rosa and Garrett.
Rosa Brooks claims videographer Garrett Manny did not finish her home renovation video.
You didn't send it to him. There's no question you didn't send it to him.
He requested...
You did not send it to him.
No, I didn't No, my son sent it to him.
How do I know that?
He requested it from my son because he asked me to, but I did not know how to forward it to him on the format that he was requiring. I also have tried to meet with Mr. Manny to have him upload or transfer all of the video that I videotaped of when he couldn't make it to his office so that he can upload it onto his computer so he can edit it. He never gave me an edited copy of
Just a second. Ms. Brooks, is what you're telling me you have never seen any video of the 3/4 of the job that you acknowledge that he did? Are you telling me you've never seen any of those videos?
Never seen any of those videos, Your Honor, only when he was recording it at the property.
Mr. Maney, you wanted to show me something.
Yes, Your Honor. Well, there is...
At the beginning, when we started.
A few things here.
First of all, you have on your Google Drive
yes, Your Honor,
all of the video that you took.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you currently have it.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is there any way that I can see any of it?
Absolutely. I also have another video that shows real estate videography work that I've done for other clients.
I'm not interested.
Okay.
I'm not interested in that.
You should also be able to see on the Google Drive who has access to it.
Oh.
I removed the access when this case came up because I didn't want, at this point, I don't trust the plaintiff. So I removed her access so that she couldn't go and delete the videos and try to claim that she never had access.
To them. Got it.
Let me see.
Give the phone to Sarah, please, Kevin.
There it is, flip videos. That's all the different files with all of the different videos. And there may be something that you can push in there to see when people had access at one point, because I had access for herself as well as her son. And she has prior uploaded videos into there herself.
There's more than 30 videos in here, and
those are just
I
files.
see the the two little people on Google Drive, which usually indicates that it's shared with more than one person.
Is it currently shared with anybody other than the defendant? He said he took her off the shared access.
Rosa Brooks does have access to all of the videos.
She does.
Your Honor, can I explain why he set up that folder? Because I also took video myself to upload onto that. He showed me how to do that.
He told me that you also did, but he said that this file also includes the video footage that he took.
Yes, but it was never edited, so I can do voiceovers.
Just a second. I asked you a specific question, Ms. Brooks. I said, did you ever see any of the video that he took? Your answer was no.
No.
Correct?
Correct.
Well, the fact that you didn't look at it, I don't believe. I find no validity to why, if you had it and you were coming to court today and you were dissatisfied, why you wouldn't look at it. You had your son have access to it, and I don't know how old your son is, who took the end video. I'm going to look at some of it, but it's clear to me that Mr. Maney performed a substantial amount of work for you. Clearly, $1,900 worth of work, clearly. So what happened at the end that caused you to have your son do an end look at what the place looked like? I don't know why, but Mr. Maney said that he has an email from you that I'm going to look at now. That would sort of be dispositive of what happened at the end run of this case. While Sarah, could you give me just one look at his?
Sure. So he has all of these different files for different sections of the home, driveway, fireplace, and if you click on them, these are all of the videos taken for flooring. And if you click on this, it's a video of them doing flooring, and you can see who has access to the clips, her son,
Jeffrey
the
and
plaintiff,
Rosa.
and the owner is the defendant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, got it.
And there's probably over 50 videos in the file.
So that you and your son had access to these videos over an extended period of time. The fact that you didn't look at it, that's not my problem.
Your Honor, my son did that video late at the end, towards the end of
what I'm telling you is you had access to these videos.
Well,
at first
I
you
did.
told me you didn't have access, that you never saw them. Then they were available to you and your son to be able to look at them. You say you never looked at them. I actually find that unbelievable,
Your
Ms. Brooks.
Honor,
I find it unbelievable that you had them and you didn't look at them.
I didn't feel it was a need to look at them, Your Honor. I was anticipating going up to Mr. Manny's office, so once he edited, I could do the voiceovers on them.
Okay.
There was no real
Ms. Brooks,
purpose.
I don't believe that you didn't look at them, madam. This was a $200,000 investment that you made, and this was a project. The first time that your business had done it, I don't believe that you didn't look at them. How much did you sell the house?
That folder for me to
How much did you
put my videos into.
How much did you? You're trying to talk over me. That's
Your
not
Honor,
happening.
I'm not
You
doing-
sold the house in what month and year?
The house closed on January 2022.
And what did you sell it for?
$555,000.
So you made $350,000.
No, Your Honor, $270,000 went into the house renovation.
Just a second. You sold it for $350,000 more than you paid for it.
Your Honor, I use hard money, and there's lots of.
Just a second. I know you're arguing with me. You bought it for $200,000. You sold it for $550,000.
Yes.
My math is not great, but that's a difference of $350,000. That's all I said to you. I said you bought it for $200,000, you sold it, and the difference between the purchase price and the sale price was $350,000.
Yes, that's correct,
Okay.
Your Honor.
Caption coming up.
So even if you made, in those few short months, $150,000, you didn't do the physical labor on the house. You had workmen do the physical labor on
I
the
did
house.
some of it, Your Honor.
Well, you made a handsome profit. I want you to tell me what you think his work is worth.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Rosa and Garrett.
Rosa Brooks has accused videographer Garrett Manny of not completing her home renovation video.
Now, you sold it in January of 2022.
That's correct.
That's when it closed.
Yes.
When did it go into contract?
Early in the project, Your Honor. It was pretty much the third month after I purchased it. So I purchased it in March. was under contract around July of 2020.
Well, there was a lot of back and forth and a little bit of cancellation on your part back in December. You needed a little wiggle room. Looks like Monday would be a better day. First it was Friday. So there was lots of back and forth on the endgame video.
Yes, Your Honor. And he
also what?
He also canceled as well. He has to.
Well, that's all right, but
Yeah, back and forth. We both had cancellations. And
I understand that, but this was for the final piece, which is what you're complaining about, the final piece.
Your Honor, he was not responding to me at some point when I tried to contact him to get the opportunity to go to his office to give him the rest of the footage that he needed, that he requested, that he was difficult about because I wasn't able to forward it to him in the format that he needed it for. I offered to come up to his office so that he can, transfer from my phone.
I'm going to ask you a question, Ms. Brooks. I just want to see what I'm dealing with.
Yes.
How many files of video did he have?
Oh, I can't tell.
You told me 30?
There's at least 30.
I had tons of video myself in there that I uploaded that he taught me how to put into those folders. A lot of those videos are my videos that he didn't take.
I don't care. It was on the same thing that you could have looked at and told me that you didn't, which I don't believe. So I want you to understand that. He was involved. There are 30 files. I want you to tell me, how much do you think that on a time basis Mr. Maney is entitled to? You paid him $1,919. He did clearly countless of hours of videoing your project. At the end, it turned south, and the videos were available to you. I want you to give me a figure of what you think is fair. Fair.
I don't have a figure that I think is fair because, first of all, he spent 10 minutes on each visit, first of all, to do his filming.
Where does he live?
Second, he lives like the next town over from me.
Just a second, so he has to get there.
Yeah.
I want you to think, Ms. Brooks, I want you to think of what you personally did to make a profit of $350,000.
Your Honor, I didn't profit that amount.
I'm telling you, that's the difference. You may have spent money in renovating the property, but that's the difference between what you purchased it for and what you sold it for, $350,000. So the sweat of your brow, your work ethic is worth something. So even if you made in those few short months $150,000, you didn't do the physical labor on the house. You had workmen do the physical labor on the house.
I did some of it, Your Honor.
Well, maybe, but you made a handsome profit. I want you to tell me what you think Mr. Maney's work was worth to you, because I'm telling you right now, I am viewing this case as if you and your son had access to 3/4 of the finished product. So I want you to tell me what you think his work is worth.
Your Honor, it's worthless to me that I didn't get the video.
Okay.
I had a website that I needed the video for once the job was completed.
Well, that's unfortunate. You should have had your son do it. Since you can't give me a figure, I'm dismissing your case. We're done. Thank you.
Court is adjourned.
Rosa, then Garrett.
First of all, I paid him for something that I never got anything for.
They had access to the files the whole time.
And as far as him saying he uploaded some videos,
The only reason I wasn't able to get the final video
yes, they were uploaded, but I never got a chance to really review them.
is because she canceled on me like 12 hours before we were supposed to do it.
I was not anticipating on reviewing anything that was not edited.
It was her lack of put together a commitment.
Not to pay for anything up front until the project is finished.
You just can't make everybody happy, but
Don't trust anybody.
this is the only client I've ever had that was not happy. That says something.
Sarah and Judy.
I love Google Drive. They leave a record. You can see who started the file, who shared the file, who has access to it, who had revoke access. So I could see as soon as I logged in, he was very organized. He had different areas of the house labeled, individual videos of flooring progress, all of those were owned by him, shared with the plaintiff to be able to view them. So I don't understand why people lie about things that are so easily to be fact-checked.
And did it make sense to you that if you had this project going, and it was the first time that you were memorializing one of your flipped houses, although she had two before, that it was something that she was interested in?
I know for myself on Google Drive, you get emails when things get uploaded. I would have been checking the second that the video got
It doesn't make sense
uploaded.
that she didn't look at.
No, not at all. There were some videos that she potentially did add to the Google Drive, so I did see some of those.
Well, that's so interesting, because in order to be able to do that, you
have
had to know
access.
that. Right. Didn't make sense. Not only didn't it make sense, but she had an end video, and it was clearly from the emails back and forth. She would make a date and then say, you know, her buyers aren't exactly ready. She needs a little more wiggle room. Could you make it this? She made it. Anyway, I found it sort of unbusinesslike. Did not say.
Filing of false police reports and harassment.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judy.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Case number 2068, Automatis versus Albrecht.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Albrecht, I'm going to start with you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
You are the current live-in boyfriend of the plaintiff's ex-wife?
Soon to be.
Of the plaintiff's wife.
Correct.
Mr. Adamas's complaint is that as a result of you making a call to the police, he was defamed when you said that he was trespassing. It was a false call to the police, and he wants to be compensated to the tune of $2,500. That's what the case is about. So in order to make this whole thing in context that I understand, how long have you been living with Mrs. Adamas?
Since June of 21.
How long do you know her?
Since January of 21.
Have you ever been married?
Yes, I have.
When and for how long?
Previously to April of this year, I was married for 15 years.
So you were married when you moved in with Mrs. Adamas?
Yeah.
Legally?
Legally.
Did you own your own home?
I did.
With your then wife?
Correct.
Did she stay in the house?
She did.
Does she have a boyfriend?
Yes, she does.
Do you like him?
No, I do not.
Does he live in the house?
Not at this time.
Did he ever?
Yes, he did.
And you didn't like it?
No, I did not.
Judy grins.
So I want you to understand that there is maybe a reason why the plaintiff resents you living in a house that he owns with his still wife, and you're living there. Do you understand?
I do.
Because you sort of have the same situation. You're kindred spirits. Just a minute. Actually, you're kindred spirits.
Except my 15-year-old son also lives with this young man.
So who cares?
Oh.
Well, that's all right. But you understand why he might be annoyed.
I do, but...
Okay. So now, understanding all that, I want you to tell me, because I'm not totally sympathetic with you, sir, because if you and your wife are divorcing, you're entitled to move on with your life, and so is she entitled to move on with your life. Where do you live? You live in an apartment?
I live in a condominium.
Okay. How long have you lived in the condo?
I've lived when we separated March of 2021.
And who do you live with?
I currently live with my...
No. Who do you live with is the question.
My older son.
And how old is he?
19.
And how many bedrooms are in the condo?
2.
And what about you? Have a girlfriend?
Yes, I do.
Ever stay over?
My house? No.
Do you ever stay at her house?
No.
Does she live with her children?
Yes.
And is she divorced?
Yes.
And she stayed in the house?
Yes.
You see how all these things go? It's just, as the world turns, it's just what happens. I've been there. Understand it all. Can either make it hard or difficult. Who pays the mortgage on the house?
Paid off.
Okay. So you have one teenage child, your wife has the other.
Yes.
And how close is the judgment to divorce to being finalized?
Not close.
Not close. Is that for financial reasons or custody reasons?
Financial.
Had to do with the house?
Yes.
Okay. How much is the house? I'm just fleshing this out.
Speculating.
Probably because I'm a little bit of a yenta. Behind this purple robe is a little bit of a...
You know, with the housing market, being a CPA, you know, it's hard to say, you have to do, but I would say somewhere...
Why don't you give Sarah the address of the house, and we'll tell you what this estimate is.
California.
While she's looking that up, tell me when you and your wife purchased it.
2006, August of 2006.
And during the course of the marriage, were you employed all the time?
100%.
And what about your wife?
100%.
So you were both employed and both contributed to the house. Fair statement?
Yes.
Great. Okay.
It's 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. This estimate is $552,000.
And just for my own curiosity, what's the rub about the house?
The rub
Come on, it's simple.
The rub about the house is she's now went in and spent an ungodly amount of money on fixer-upper after I moved out and went into massive amount of debt. The house was fully paid off, and she's now in massive debt. She's put in fixer-upper.
No, don't look at her.
Okay, that's
look
what
at me.
Okay.
So she's fixed up the house after you moved out.
Correct.
And?
It's not a problem.
Just a second. So what's the problem?
There is no problem with the house, meaning that we're still debating who's actually going to end up with the house. We haven't decided.
Well, whoever wants to be in the house buys the other one out.
Exactly.
For $260,000.
Correct.
Okay? It would seem to me that would be easy.
I think so.
Okay. Now that I've satisfied the yenta in me, I'm getting back to the case. All right. You called the police. This incident, according to what I read, Mr. Adamus, happened on November 5th?
Correct.
You went to the house to pick up your son?
Correct.
Okay. Was that a meeting that had been arranged before?
I have visitation every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks when?
Every other weekend.
Well, so was this a weekend?
Yes, that was one where I was going to go pick him up.
Okay. Had you spoken to him?
Yes.
And so he was expecting you to come at a certain time?
Absolutely.
What time?
Approximately there, we'd arranged about 7:15, that 7:15, 7:30 that night.
Okay. And you had visitation fixed by the court, and you had been enjoying that with your son for a period of time?
Correct.
Okay. What happened when you got there at 7:15?
Well, on that particular visit, my wife had taken his key to the house, and I had...
No. I told you, don't look at her.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay.
I'm getting sympathetic with her. I just want you to know that.
Okay.
7:15, you went to pick up your son, and you were annoyed because your wife had taken your son's key away from him.
Correct.
And you thought your son should have his key because he was 15.
Yes.
And?
So at that particular time, I
No, don't look down.
Okay, look at me. I went into the house. I'd never been in that house since I moved out, and so I wanted...
How did you get into the house?
The door was open.
Okay, the door isn't wide open. You mean it was unlocked?
Unlocked.
Okay, so let's not say the door was open.
Okay,
the door
unlocked.
was unlocked.
Correct.
Door was unlocked. You don't live there anymore. You live in a condo.
Correct.
Okay, did you ring the bell?
No.
Knock at the door?
Yes.
Nobody
Nobody
there's a bell.
answered.
There's a bell.
There was a bell.
There's a bell.
Yes.
Didn't ring the bell. Open the door. Now, open the door.
Yes.
Your house, I own half of it. I'm going to ask my wife a question.
Yes.
Keep going.
Walked into the house. At that particular time, she is sitting there with my son. At that particular time, I asked her to get a copy of the key, and we became into an argument. She didn't want me to have a copy of the key. And I tried to explain to her, without a copy of the key, he can't get in the house. If I drop him off at odd hours, then you don't have to be home. So then she got upset. At that point, then I never met Mr. Albrecht before this time. He comes storming down the stairs. Mr. Albrecht is then, I think Mr. Albrecht's coming to beat me up. He is storming down the stairs. I have since learned that Mr. Albrecht...
Just stop.
Okay.
Just pay careful attention to me. So far, you're in the wrong.
Okay.
Let me just tell you.
Okay.
So far, from a legal perspective...
Right.
...and a common sense perspective...
Okay.
...you're in the wrong. I'll explain why in a second.
So I walk into that house.
We got past that.
Okay.
We got past that. So now you want a copy of the key, and she says no. I don't care if you want to give it to your parakeet.
Okay.
You're not entitled to a copy of the key.
Okay.
Let's start right there.
Okay.
And let's start with my first point is if you're going there to pick up your son for a prearranged visit,
yes,
you don't walk into the house. You have a 15-year-old son. A 15-year-old son has a phone.
I tried to call him, yes.
Oh, you tried to call him. What happened?
He said he was there, that he said...
Be very careful what you say to me.
Okay, he
You
was
called
there.
your son.
And I called my son, be ready to go. He said, okay, I'm ready to go.
That was at about 7 o'clock.
Yes, approximately.
What do you mean, yes, approximately?
Yeah, I was probably on my way to pick him up. And so when I come up there, I call him on the phone.
Okay, he's ready to go.
Yes, are you ready to go?
Okay, so you walked in.
Okay.
You had no right to enter the house.
Did not know that.
Well, you had no right to enter the house. You knew that your wife changed the locks.
I did not know at that time she had changed the lock because the door was open. I had not been
No. Listen to me. You went there because... Mr. Adonis, you have to be a two-process thinker, sir, before you give me a lot of baloney.
Frank grins. Caption, coming up.
You knew that your old key didn't open the house. Otherwise, you would have said, your mother took away your key. I'll make you another key from my copy.
True.
True, of course it's true. So, you know.
And later today.
I wasn't allowed to live with my dad and stepmom because they moved into a 55 and over neighborhood.
When?
They...
If you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Frank and Willie.
Frank Automitis claims his wife's boyfriend, Willie Albrecht, wrongfully called the police while visiting his own house.
Okay, if you needed a copy of the key to a house that you partially own,
Yes.
you would have had a key to the house.
Correct.
You didn't need a copy to make because you would have had one.
Okay.
So you knew that your old key didn't open the house. Otherwise, you would have said, your mother took away your key. I'll make you another key from my copy.
True.
True, of course it's true. So, you know, so he called the police and he said you were trespassing.
No, he didn't say that at all.
What did he say?
He said he told me I was trespassing. Then he called on the phone, and when he's on the phone with the police department, he is telling them that I am now committing domestic violence. Now, that is a very serious charge. I mean, okay, we can debate about my access to the house, but when you call the police and say that I'm committing domestic violence, which is a crime in the state of California, that's a game changer. So
I want to ask you a question, Mr. Adonis. When you walked into the house and you saw your wife and your son, I want to know, when you walked in uninvited,
True.
Your first words were, I want a copy of the key. That's what you said. You said, I want a copy of the key. Would you read that back to me, please, Whitney?
I'll go with that.
At that particular time, I asked her to get a copy of the key, and we became into an argument.
So now you're in an argument, and you're a trespasser. Your case is dismissed. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Okay.
This court is adjourned.
Frank, then Willie.
Very, very shocking.
She's absolutely correct, as she usually is.
I had no idea this was going to blow up into World War III.
Because he's all about winning. He didn't get his way. He was throwing a temper tantrum.
I feel that he's just trying to do whatever he can to keep me out of the picture.
He lives by his own rules.
He just simply wants me out of the way so he could take over.
Let the courts decide.
Judy and Sarah.
It's always so unfortunate when people divorce. I mean, the story is this. I could have written the script without even listening to the people. But they have two teenage boys, 15, 19 years old. One's chosen to live with the father, one's chosen to live with the mother. Clearly, the son said to him, Mom took away my key. She clearly took away his key for a reason. I didn't even want to get into what the reason was, but clearly she took away the key for a reason. Otherwise, she doesn't look like an unreasonable person. Her boyfriend doesn't look like an unreasonable guy. And he was flexing his muscles. And the fight is over the house, because I gather that's the only real asset they have. Yeah. Anyway, unfortunate when people don't realize that they have to love their children more than they hate each other.
So true.
Case 2069, Hastings versus Kammer. All parties, please step forward.
Ryan Hastings is suing his former roommate, Peyton Kammer, for a security deposit, personal belongings, and filing a false restraining order.
Mr. Hastings, you and the defendant were roommates? I'm not quite understanding.
Yes, correct.
Clearly, whether you were roommates or in a relationship. What was it?
It was just roommates.
When did you start to be roommates?
In September of 2020.
Did you know each other before?
Yes.
How?
We were just friends that met at a party and hung out often.
Starting when?
That was in December of 2019.
And what made you decide to room together?
We were both looking for a place to live, so since we both needed that, we found this apartment together.
2 bedrooms?
Correct.
And you moved in with animals,
Correct.
I understand from the complaint.
Correct.
Cats?
Yes.
How many?
I had 2.
I had to.
I didn't ask you anything yet. You had 2. And Miss Kammer had 2. Any other animals?
No.
So you started to live together during COVID.
Correct.
Were you working?
Yes.
Was Miss Kammer working?
Yes.
What was the rent on the apartment?
It was $13.65.
And you each paid half?
Correct.
So far, correct? Was everything okay in 2020? September, October, November, December?
As far as rent?
No, as far as the living arrangement.
Oh, in 2020, yeah, we just had many squabbles, but overall, we were just fine.
I'm going to ask you the same question. In 2020, everything okay?
No.
What happened in 2020?
It was emotional warfare since I moved in with him. There was arguments with everything, even simple things like cleaning the dishes, just nonstop. I was terrified of him living with him. I couldn't bring anything up without it being an argument.
Okay, so prior to moving in with Mr. Hastings, where did you live?
With my parents.
How old are you?
I'm 21.
Is this the first time you had an apartment?
Yes.
And how far away were your parents from this apartment?
Probably like 10 minutes.
If you were terrified, you should have moved home.
I wasn't allowed to.
You weren't allowed to because?
Because I wasn't allowed to live with my dad and stepmom because they moved into a 55 and over neighborhood.
When?
They...
If you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory.
They moved in a little after I moved into my apartment. I moved into my apartment to prepare for them moving out.
I just don't want to hear drama. If you had fights over who's going to clean the dishes, and I don't want to hear terrified, unless you're terrified. And if you're terrified and you're 21 years old, you go back to where you came from, to your parents' house. If you're terrified, may not have liked it, but that's just kid drama. So, squabbles in 2020. Your lawsuit says that she disposed of your belongings. She filed a restraining order.
Yes.
As a result of the restraining order, you were evicted from the apartment.
Yes.
It was a false restraining order. You hired a lawyer to appeal the finding of the judge.
Yes.
That you had harassed her because this restraining order was based on harassment.
Yes.
May I see a copy of it, please?
I have a copy of the restraining order.
Of the order or what it was based on?
It said what it has the whole thing. It says what it was based on.
Yeah, I see what she has. It doesn't look like it was what it was based on. You do a write-up of what it was based on.
Judy reviews a document.
On the front page, in a little box, it has a little description of what happened.
Okay. So the judge who heard this case, and I'm assuming everything in this write-up is true. On the above date, which was the 7th of September 2021, on the above date and time, defendant and the plaintiff engaged in a verbal argument over household chores. The defendant then made comments to the plaintiff that he would go crazy on her and raised his fist. The defendant stated this multiple times and started shaking in anger, causing the plaintiff to be in fear for her life. And you had a hearing on this?
Yes.
You had a hearing on this. You told this to a judge?
Yes.
Yes.
I want you to tell me what you told the judge, or did you tell the judge anything?
I told the judge that I was raising my voice, but I was standing a good amount of distance away from her at the time, and that I was shaking because I wasn't being listened to, and that was it. There was no physical interaction there, only verbal interaction.
Caption, coming up.
Did the judge say to you, how would you describe shaking in anger because you weren't being listened to?
I was shaking just because I was angry. I was just trying to keep my composure.
Well, that would frighten me.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Ryan and Peyton.
Ryan Hastings claims his former roommate, Peyton Kammer, owes for a security deposit and personal belongings. Peyton is countersuing for rent and emotional distress.
Now, tell me, did the judge say to you, how would you describe shaking in anger because you weren't being listened to?
Can you repeat that question?
I don't know how you were shaking. You mean you...
I was shaking as in like, I was shaking just because I was angry. I wasn't being listened to. I was trying to keep my composure. So I was just shaking.
Well, that would frighten me. Actually, I don't know whether I'd put you out of your house, but that would frighten me. Mr. Hastings, where are you living now?
I just moved into a new apartment.
With whom?
Myself.
Better?
Yes, and my cats.
Perfect. Yourself and your cats. Great. No, I'm going to tell you, Mr. Hastings, if that happened to me with a man who was larger than I was, that might frighten me if he appeared out of control. So I'm dismissing that part of your complaint, which seeks damages for a false restraining order.
Okay.
What you actually just testified to me, and I took everything that she said in her complaint against you. I didn't even have to ask her. I wanted to know what you told the judge.
Of course.
Then it was a reasonable issuing of a protective order, just to make sure that it appeared to me what you were testifying to is that she couldn't tell the difference whether you were composing yourself or whether you were out of control. Okay, so it was.
May I interject and just say that the restraining order was repealed and remanded, saying that the court did not find sufficient evidence to impose the order. And
whether it was or not, I don't care I'm not sitting as an appellate court.
Okay.
I'm sitting as a trier of fact for the first time in your civil action. And what you told me, in my judgment, was sufficient for a judge to say, you know, I don't want to preside over an assault case or a homicide case. This guy says he was shaking. She says he was shaking in anger. You say I was shaking to try to maintain my composure. Well, I'm not going to worry about them. Let him go find someplace else to live, which is what he did. So I think that that's reasonable. Money owed for return of security deposit. Now, he was put out of the apartment. He put in security deposit.
Correct.
And he was put out of the apartment. How much security deposit did he put in?
$682.
Are you still living in the apartment?
I am.
Okay. When he moved out of the apartment as a result of this restraining order, was there any damage in the apartment that he caused?
No.
Then you have to give him back his $682, because any damage that would have resulted since he moved out would be your damage, okay? That's fair enough. $682, that's your security deposit, sir. Return of belongings. Okay, so when you were told that you had to vacate the apartment, tell me what belongings you left in the apartment which you think she still has, which belong to you.
I do not believe she has anything of mine left in that apartment.
Well, what do you think she owes you for?
I am seeking the money for those items because they were thrown away.
What items?
So I had a bed.
Just a second. Yeah. You had a bed and there was a major flea problem in the apartment as a result of your cats.
Correct.
Okay, she threw away the bed. What else?
Okay, there was a Nintendo Switch.
Do you know what that is?
Nintendo Switch? I never found that. I believe he took that the night with him.
Okay, she didn't have it. She didn't throw it away. What else?
I also had a hookah that was in there.
What, a hookah?
Yeah.
Do you have his hookah?
No.
Go. What's next? Okay, if you have to think about it that hard.
I'm sorry.
Sir, we're finished. She owes you back your security deposit.
Okay.
That's $682. You have a counterclaim. Most of it is nonsense. Your counterclaim for emotional distress. Forget that. Only one emotionally distressed usually in this room is me. Money owed for the month's rent, for a final month's rent. What is that?
He didn't pay the month of September. He was late on it.
The month of September.
But that would have been the $682.
Was he there in September?
September 1st would have been the day that the money was due.
No, when did he vacate the apartment as a result of your restraining order?
September 7th, when the night of the mistake, but he was late on rent often.
$682, that's what he gets.
Yes.
As he gets a security deposit back. Your counterclaim's dismissed. We're finished. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Peyton, then Ryan.
I don't really disagree with anything. Everything went perfectly the way I would have hoped it went.
I'm glad I got my security deposit back, but I could have definitely been compensated for the items that I lost.
I mean, he got a little money out of it, but way less than he thought he would. It's a good day.
Sometimes I can get anxious, but I would not hurt anybody physically.
I hope he gets some help.
Me and my cats are the best trio.
Judy and Sarah.
You know, I remember from a very early period in my life when I started college that I wasn't really good at having a roommate.
I think you must have passed that on to me.
I did, especially one that you don't love. You know, it's hard enough to live with somebody that you love. You know, get irritated. You know, she said they fought over dishes and not doing the dishes. Well, you know, you've lived with us, so, you know, I have that argument all the time. But I love him.
Yeah.
It's very hard to deal with somebody schmutz that you don't love.
Got to be careful and pick someone you really think and cross your fingers and toes.
Actually, Sarah, I don't think you should pick anybody. I think that what you should do, if you can, is live in a shoebox by yourself, if that's all you can afford. Yeah. You know how many roommate cases we've done just in the last couple of years?
All with stress and act.
For a phone and gas money.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches the bench.
Case 2087, Self versus Stroger.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Judy turns to David.
Your last name is Self?
That's correct.
There are two parts to your claim. I'm going to get and take your hands out of your pockets.
Sorry about that.
I'm going to get and dismiss one of them and get to the one that is important. You and the defendant were in a dating sort of relationship. That dating relationship sort of continued for a while. At some point, you had an argument and she left you. She stranded you. That was in July of 2022. You say you had an argument, she drove off and she left you stranded. You had to get a hotel for the night. You had to pay a friend for gas money. Blah, 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 blah.
Correct.
Forget that. That's what happens when you have a fight with your girlfriend.
Okay.
Have a fight with your girlfriend. How old are you?
I'm almost 40.
Well, for someone almost 40, they know how to get home.
Correct.
Okay, good. So let's get to what your lawsuit is. It's really about a phone that you say the defendant is responsible for losing or taking.
Taking. I have video to prove
taking. And the defendant in some way acknowledges that she disposed of your phone, and she says she had very good cause to dispose of your phone. She's going to tell me why. So I'm going to get some dates from you, Mr. Self,
okay.
And I'm going to, at the same time, explore what I see is her answer and her counterclaim.
Okay.
Now, after the two of you had broken up, Miss Stroger was at a bar, and she was at a bar on what date?
I would say that would be the 16th. It was actually on the 19th.
August 2nd.
Was it August
8/2. You see how
she knows better about these dates than I do.
Well, but it's your case.
I understand that.
So let's say she's right, that it happened on August 2nd.
Okay.
And at that time, the two of you were no longer dating or a couple.
Yes.
And you were going to a bar. And when you got there, was the defendant there?
Not that I was aware of at the particular time.
You didn't see her?
I didn't see her, no.
What time did you get to the bar?
I'd say about 4 or 5.
Anybody else at the bar?
There's quite a bit of people there, to be honest.
How many people?
I'd say about 30.
Anybody you knew?
Quite a bit of people.
Of the 30 people there, how many people did you know?
I'd say at least 10.
But you indicate when you got there, you did not see the defendant.
No, I wasn't paying attention to her at the particular time.
Well, you say that there were 30 people in the bar,
correct.
10 of whom you knew. So you knew some people, and this was a former girlfriend of yours with whom you had been close association and intimate, right?
Correct.
And you didn't see her.
Well, they have a back patio, and then they also have the indoors and everything like that. And then they have a front area, too, as well, so.
Tell me, Mr. Self, when did you, in fact, see her?
It's when she was doing the bowling. And that was a little bit later on when I was playing pool.
About what time was that?
I don't know, probably like 7 or 8.
So you had been in the bar for between 3 and 4 hours?
Yes.
Okay, so now you're at the bar for 3 or 4 hours. And are your friends there, these 10 people that you knew?
Yes.
Now, I'm going to go back a little bit to the breakup that you two had.
Gotcha.
Was it a mutual breakup?
So what ended up happening and everything, that we had a disagreement on the 23rd in Norco, and she left me stranded there, so I had to get another friend give me a ride back to my residence.
I can't understand a word you're saying because you're speaking too fast.
On the 23rd.
Better.
She left me at a barbecue and had a friend give me a ride back to Riverside, California.
A friend who was at the barbecue?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so you were at a barbecue with her.
That's correct.
And that was how far away from where you were living in Riverside?
I'd say about 20 minutes away.
And your friend was at the barbecue, and after you had an argument with her, your friend took you home?
Prior?
No, not prior. Is that what you just said to me?
In Norco, California, is when she left me at a barbecue. And then at the bar, or when we were down in Huntington Beach on the 30th, she left me. I have video that shows all that.
All right. I asked you whether the breakup was acrimonious. So one time she left you at a barbecue where you knew somebody who drove you home.
Correct.
And you didn't stay in a motel, you didn't do anything else. Okay, good. And then she did it again.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying to me?
Yes.
And the second time was when?
It was on the 30th.
Okay. And that is the time when you say you had to spend some time over. So after she left you the second time, is that when you no longer communicated with her?
That's correct.
Did you say, why did you leave me? How dare you leave me? You didn't have any communication by text or phone or anything else, is what I'm asking you.
So her cousin's supposed to play in a band. We showed up late. She was upset and distraught about showing up late.
Who showed up late?
We did, because I was with her.
I just need a date of that,
on the 30th.
Sir. I have on the 30th, so she was upset that you showed up late, and?
We showed up late to her cousin's thing. They're supposed to be at 2 o'clock. We got there about 2:05. She's upset about that. When we were driving down the road, because we're trying to find parking, which everybody was around and everything, she was getting upset and getting angry with another driver, to the point where I had to pull the e-brake to stop the vehicle as I thought she was going to run into it.
And then what happened?
De-escalate the situation as much as possible. Mind you, there's 2 minors there in the back.
I would just like to know, was the breakup, I'm trying to figure out, was the breakup acrimonious or mutual on the 30th? Who broke up with whom?
She left me.
She left you there.
That's correct.
On the 30th. After she left you there on the 30th, did you have any communication with her?
I was done with it.
Just a second. So after the 30th, you didn't see her or communicate with her until you saw her on August 2nd, is what you're saying?
Yes. I didn't see her again.
Didn't see her again or communicate with her from the 30th of July until August 2nd, a few days later.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
I believe so. I can look at my records right now to see, but I don't believe I gave her a call or anything like that.
Okay. And when you saw her at the bar that you were in, you saw her later between 6 and 7. She was bowling. Mm-hmm. It's not an answer. The answer is yes.
Yes.
She was bowling. You were playing pool.
Correct.
And what this is about is your phone, which you're missing. So tell me about the phone, sir.
So I have a Note 10 Plus that was behind the bar at the time. Instead of going to my vehicle, which I typically charge it from that
Just a second. So you were charging your phone at the bar.
Correct.
When had you put the phone in to charge it?
Later on that evening, around 10, maybe 11, I'm guessing.
10 or 11?
I'm
Just a second. 10 or 11. So.
Because there's a few times I actually go in there, I charge it, then I use it for a little bit.
Well, but you saw it the last time.
I apologize for that.
Last time you saw it, you plugged it in. It was like 10 or 11. So now you've been in the bar from 4 to 10 or 11.
Yes.
And she was there, at least as far as you know, from about 7 to 10 or 11.
Yes.
Keep going.
So I charge it, and...
what were you doing with the phone all evening?
Talking, texting. Texting and stuff like that.
Texting?
Communicating, yes.
To whom?
Friends.
Friends.
What's going on, you know, social media, all the good stuff.
Okay, go ahead.
So anyways, I was playing pool. I went outside, had a cigarette, and then that's when she, at 12:33 is when she ended up with her girlfriend looking around and all this other stuff. Like I stated before, I have the video that shows that on the camera. Would you like to see it?
So far, I'm not understanding you. So why don't you explain it to me, and then you can show it to me. So far, it's all a jumble. 12:30 at night.
12:33 is when she stole the phone.
Is when she stole the phone?
That's correct.
And you bought the phone when, sir?
About 2 years ago.
And how much did you pay for it?
I don't know, I think like $800, $700.
Well, this is your case. How am I supposed to figure out? You're suing for a phone that she took. How am I supposed to figure out how much she owes you for the phone if she took it?
I don't know how much I paid for it, but I know it retails for about $1,200.
Show me.
So I got the case cover.
What kind of phone was it?
The Note 10 Plus.
The Samsung Galaxy Note 10 Plus is typically $395 to $512.
At this point in time, yes.
Well, that's what it would cost you to replace it.
Okay.
Now, you do not deny that you put your hands on his phone in a manner in which you intended to have it removed from his custody, which means, according to you, you took the phone out of the charger and threw it in the trash or trash someplace. So far, Mr. Self, the defendant acknowledges that she took the phone and trashed it.
All right.
And I want you to make sure that you answer my questions carefully. While you were at the bar between 7 and 12, did you ever show anyone at the bar a photograph of the defendant?
No, I did not.
Now I'll hear you.
So I got to the bar around 8:30 because I played darts that night. I did not see the plaintiff. I was playing bowling. There was an arcade game. And when he came in, he started showing videos of me.
That's incorrect.
Don't speak.
Caption coming up.
There is a protective order in place, and if you want to vacate that protective order because you question service, you better do so. In the meantime, I suggest you stay very, very far away from her.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, David and Joangela.
David Self claims his ex-girlfriend, Joangela Stroger, owes for a phone and gas money. Joangela is countersuing for harassment.
Now, did you see him showing videos of you to anyone at the bar?
I saw him showing videos.
But didn't see what they were?
No.
I would never do such a thing. Apologize.
Could you stand up, please?
Absolutely.
A blonde woman rises.
Do you know Mr. Self?
I do.
Tell me your name.
Amy
Amy what?
Clack?
Were you at the bar on the 2nd of August?
I was.
And you know the defendant?
Yes, she's a friend of mine.
And what about Mr. Self? How do you know him?
As her ex-boyfriend?
Be careful of what you answer me. Did you see what Mr. Self was showing on his phone?
I did not see what he was showing on his phone. I saw him showing the phone, and I had friends who came up to me to see if I had seen it.
You can't tell me what your friends told you.
Understand.
You can sit down. Now, Ms. Stroger, your answer, and of course your counterclaim, involved the fact that Mr. Self was showing intimate pictures of you that he had maintained on his phone. So far, we don't have a witness to that. So what I want you to tell me is whether or not you personally had a conversation with Mr. Self about those videos on that night on August 2nd.
I asked him not to show video of me around the bar that night.
You did have a conversation with him?
Yeah, because he approached me.
Put your hand down. I want you to tell me about the conversation.
He approached me basically...
I don't want to hear basically.
He approached me
what time?
saying hi about 9:30 that night. Approached me saying hi. I told him I didn't want anything to do with him, that I had seen him showing videos, and that I was told that it was sexual videos of myself.
And what did he say?
He said he can do what he wants with his phone, and walked away.
Do you recall that conversation, Mr. Self?
There was no conversation that took place. The only video...
No. Slowly. There was no conversation, that took place.
That took place about anything like that. What video I did have was her being irate over there in Huntington Beach. So if you'd like to see that too as well.
No, I'd like to see the videos that she says that you have of her on your phone.
I don't have any videos of her like that on my phone.
Did you delete them?
I don't have...
Just a second. Oh, he has a new phone. Got it. He has... just dawned on me. He has a new phone. Well...
I did have a letter stating that he did get the backup, and he's got all the videos again.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
I do have a backup. Once I...
Just a second.
Okay.
He sent this to my boss at 1:30 in the morning. 2:43, sorry.
Judy reviews a document.
Mr. Self, this was sent by you to her boss on the 9th of August.
Okay.
Would you tell me the purpose of sending this letter to her boss?
She does very good at showing that she's a good person and all the other good stuff.
No, I don't think... Listen to me. I don't necessarily think anything.
Okay.
I think any woman that allows photographs to be taken of her, intimate photographs that she would not want put on the... I'm speaking.
Okay.
I'm speaking that she would not want posted on the front page of a local newspaper.
Correct.
I think that that's foolish.
Yeah.
I do. And I know a lot of people do it. I do a shout out every once in a while and say that that's stupid to do. And I think certainly if you were showing those videos or those photographs to anyone at the bar because you were annoyed with her or whatever, you thought it was fun, I think that that's
childish.
Sad, maybe worse. What I want to know is, after this all happened, why you sent this email to her boss.
Because the thing is this, that she is trying to pin me as a bad guy or something like that, is what she's really trying to do. She's trying to manipulate it to be on her side. She lies and manipulates all the time. And I've seen that because I was with her. I should know. Okay? The thing is this, I have the video of her over there in Huntington Beach being irate, unable to have a conversation.
I don't care if she's irate, sir. Right now, she has no proof that you were showing videos of her at the bar that evening.
Yes.
You don't have that because that's your counterclaim. And if you don't have that, then I have to dismiss your counterclaim.
But there's also harassment and stalking that he's been doing.
Okay. I have to dismiss that part of your counterclaim, which is for revenge porn. Okay. Now, you're going to tell me about the stalking, and first I'll take a look at a police report.
The police report, unfortunately...
Just a second. If you don't have it...
I have a restraining order, and the police...
Just a second. Do you have a restraining order that's in effect now?
Yes.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Also, Your Honor, too, I have also...
No, I'm not...
Okay.
I didn't ask you anything.
Joangela hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Were you at a hearing, Mr. Self, on this protective order?
I never even got served papers at all for anything.
I have proof of service.
Was there a signature on it?
Well, Mr. Self, she has a restraining order that's, and the hearing date was August 25th, 2022. She appeared. You're supposed to stay away from her. I'm just telling you. And I'm telling you, considering the fact And I don't know whether you were released from prison recently. Are you still on parole?
I'm on parole right now, yes.
Okay. Well, if you're, I didn't ask you anything. Well, if you're on parole, Mr. Self, and you say you weren't served with this restraining order, I would strongly advise, sir, that you retain counsel and question service.
Yeah, I've contacted my probation officer. They're well aware of the situation.
Don't tell me what they're aware of. I'm telling you that there is a protective order in place.
Gotcha.
And if you want to vacate that protective order because you question service of that protective order, you better do so.
Okay.
In the meantime, I suggest you stay very, very far away from her.
He called me yesterday.
I called you yesterday?
Yes.
Don't speak to her. Tell me what the conversation was yesterday.
I was on my way to work and I didn't know the phone number, so I answered it and he said, please just give me a minute, and I hung up.
Did you call her yesterday from that phone?
There is a phone.
Just a second. That would be a yes.
Yes.
Okay, and you know this situation is hostile.
Yes.
And you knew you were coming here today.
That's correct.
Would you tell me, please, why you called her yesterday?
I didn't mean to call her by any means. It's pocket dialed her.
Well, if it but called her or pocket dialed her, sir, that means that you were able to transfer all the information that you had on your old phone into your new phone, because after the experience that you had at the bar, there would be no reason for you to have her number in your phone.
I know.
Unless you just transferred.
I got it right here.
Well, if you got it, listen to me. If you got it right here, then it wasn't a butt call. So you can either butt call when, am I wrong about that? You know, I'm not technically sophisticated, but I do know this. I can't think into my phone. Now, maybe there is a phone that you can think into. I'd say, well, I have her number right here. You can't say, am I missing something here?
You might only butt dial me because I'm in your favorites, but...
Caption coming up.
Why would you send this to her boss?
It shows that she lies and manipulates and all sort of stuff to get her way.
I'm at a point where I don't actually believe that you didn't show some photographs of her around that bar.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, David and Joangela.
David Self is accusing his ex-girlfriend, Joangela Stroger, of throwing away his phone. Joangela is countersuing, claiming David shared private photos of her.
Okay, so you called her. You want to tell me why you called her yesterday?
I accidentally called her.
What's her number doing in your phone?
Because I keep all the numbers and everything just in case I have to get a hold of somebody. Because you know how many times I've been with her and back and forth, back and forth, back and forth?
Yeah.
Tons of times. You know what I mean?
You know, sir, something, Mr. Self, I don't believe you, sir.
Okay.
I don't believe you, and I don't believe that there was ever any reason for you to contact her boss. I think she has an order of protection.
Okay.
I'd like to see proof of service. Do you have it?
Yes. Oh, it's not connected with that. I'm sorry. If not, I have a picture of the service in front of his house.
Yeah. Server's name. So it was personal service.
And I do have a video after the fact of what she's talking about, the individual coming to the house. So I recorded
I'm just reading the proof of service, sir. You said you weren't served. I'd like to see proof of service. If you had proof of service, you were served.
I wasn't served.
Okay.
Just because you take a picture in front of the house and everything doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Why is that? I wasn't even at the residence at the time.
They took a picture of me.
Yeah, I would suggest to you, Mr. Self,
Stay away.
I would suggest to you that hire a lawyer.
Okay.
If you think that the service was improper, I'm satisfied with it, and another judge was satisfied with it, and I still don't understand why you wrote to her boss. Why you wrote to her boss afterwards. Any other communications?
To my boss, yes.
May I see it, please?
Joangela hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Well, this is also written on August 9th, sir. This is from you, and it's a very graphic email to her boss. You want to take a look at it?
I do indeed.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to show it to you.
Okay.
Joangela smirks.
Thank you.
Kevin brings the document to David, who examines it.
So this is really just stating the individual that they hired, that they...
No, I'm just asking you whether you sent that to her boss.
That is my email address, and that looks like my writing. That's correct.
The question is, did you send that to her boss?
Indeed.
Okay. May I have it, please? And that was after the events, a week after the events of the 2nd of August, right?
Okay, yes.
You want to tell me why you sent that to her boss?
Well,
I mean, it's not telling them that she's a thief. You have to be careful of her. It's talking about sexual things.
where is it saying sexual things in that?
Oh, very easy. You say she lies to her boss about cramps while we lay in bed.
She is literally taking off of work saying that she's, sick or.
So I'm asking you why. Why would you send this to her boss?
It shows that she lies and manipulates and all sort of stuff to get her way.
Okay.
The fact of nature, I understand that I've been to prison and all sort of stuff. I could be the bad guy and all that great stuff. I understand that.
I'm not saying she's a good person.
Correct.
I'm not saying you're a bad person.
Correct.
She's got to pay for her phone.
Yeah.
You got to pay for this. Because I'm at a point where I don't actually believe that you didn't show some photographs of her around that bar. I don't believe that you didn't show some photographs of her around that bar.
I would never do such a thing.
Just a second. Well, the same person who would never do such a thing wrote to her boss that you were present when she called her boss and said, I can't come to her because I have cramps, and she was laying in bed with you.
Correct.
Okay? And that same person wouldn't show a picture,
No.
No. Okay, good. On your counterclaim, I am awarding you $5,000 on your counterclaim. From that, I'm taking off the $500 because he had no right to trash his phone. There are alternatives. One of them is not trashing his phone. Therefore, ordering on the counterclaim a judgment for the defendant in the amount of $4,500. Plaintiff's case is dismissed. We're done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This court is adjourned.
David Benjuangelo.
She gets away with it again.
The judge is very fair. Unfortunately, he tried to make me look like the bad guy, but the judge can see right through him.
Did I show her videos? Yes, where she was being irate over there in Huntington Beach.
That he's showing sexual videos of me and him.
The nudes and all that stuff? No. Why would I do something like that?
I went black, and that's the only reason why I threw the phone in the trash in the first place, because I felt helpless.
She sold me on this great person and everything, but come to find out, you know what, it's not what it is.
I gotta just be more careful with their phone around.
Judy.
I guess, Sarah, it's because of my generation. But I've been saying for a very long time, even before the internet, because, I was, in fact, young at some point in my life, and they did have all kinds of cameras and Polaroid cameras back in the day. But never take a photograph of yourself or allow a photograph to be taken that you wouldn't like to see on the front page of the New York Times. And now with social media, I think that that's more true than ever. To me, why would you post anything or take a picture, allow a picture to be taken that might later embarrass you?
I agree to an extent, but I disagree with you that in this case, because the defendant mentioned that the plaintiff had taken some of this video and photo without her permission. And I think that now it can get a little bit blurry as to, well, I didn't approve my photo taken. Obviously, a sexually explicit photo getting sent to your boss is not the intended purpose of that photo. I think whoever sends that photo misdirecting the intent.
Gilbert for car damage.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2084, Popyachev versus Gilbert.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Popyachev, you were driving in your car, 2008 BMW.
That's correct.
And that was on the 14th of November of
That is correct.
last year. Tell me what time of the day this accident happened.
It was approximately 3:15 p.m.
So daylight hours.
Yes.
And tell me where you were going.
I was going eastbound on Sunset Boulevard in Beverly Hills. I was driving
Eastbound on
Sunset Boulevard in Beverly Hills. I was driving in the right, so-called slow lane when I tried to make a right turn.
Where?
It's a intersection. The name of the street is Palm Drive.
Is that intersection controlled by a light or stop sign?
No, there is no stop sign or a light.
At that intersection?
That is correct.
I assume somebody has a video or a photograph of that section that would demonstrate that there is no light. You do. Is there a light or a stop sign at that intersection?
No, Your Honor, there's not.
Did you put on your signal indicating a right turn?
Yes, I did.
How far from the corner?
I can't state distance, but it was approximately 5 seconds before I reached the intersection.
Was there traffic that day?
Yes.
A lot?
Very light. It was Sunday.
So far, Mr. Gilbert, is that correct, that there was light traffic on that day?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you were traveling on a motor something called a Vespa, which is a small
scooter, yes, Your Honor.
but motorized.
Yes, ma'am.
And I don't know about these things, does a Vespa have to be registered and have a license plate on it?
I do have
It's
a
yours.
license plate on the Reddit.
Okay, so your Vespa is registered as a motor vehicle and you have a license plate.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now tell me what happened, sir.
As I proceeded to make a right turn onto Palm Drive, I just heard an airflow. It was a big bang. It was an impact.
On your passenger side?
Yes, on my right passenger side. And I realized that there was a small motorcycle or a moped that hit my vehicle.
Hit your side. And you were the person riding that Vespa?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. May I see the damage to your car?
Yes.
Kaloyan hands a photo to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
Sarah Rose, get me the price of a 2008 BMW 7 Series.
Will do.
Thanks.
Judy reviews a photo of a dented passenger door.
What you're talking about is this damage, sir. Is that correct?
Yes, front passenger.
I see.
Yeah.
I've just made a circle. Can you see the circle that I've made?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And that is, Mr. Gilbert, where you hit him with your Vespa.
It's where he hit me with his car.
No, he can't hit you sideways, sir.
He sideswiped me.
He can't hit you sideways, sir. He can't slide into you. Now, whosever fault this was, I'll try to figure it out. But you hit him because this is the area of impact. Cars don't go sideways, they go front. You have pictures of your Vespa?
Yes.
I'd like to take a look at them.
Your Honor, based on a 100,000-mile BMW 7 Series, between $4,700 and $7,800 is about the range.
I just want to know, because I have to see what this kind of damage. He's suing for $10,000, which is ridiculous.
A photo of a scooter in a clump of shrubbery.
That doesn't show me much, actually. Okay, so I can't see the front of your Vespa, sir. I assume that the front is the end that's damaged because I see the back.
Yeah, the front end was completely
just
collapsed.
A second. So the front of your Vespa was damaged because that's where you hit him with your Vespa.
No, Your
The
Honor,
back
that's
end
incorrect.
was not damaged, nor does it look like the sides are damaged. These are the pictures you gave me. The only thing I can't see is the front crushed end. Am I correct that I can't see the front crushed end? Okay.
Yes.
So now I'm telling you that based upon these photographs, yours and his, you hit his car. Okay, now that's the chart. Whose chart is that?
It's from the police report.
Great. Now, the police report doesn't show a bike lane there or any other lane. It shows that there's a car traveling in a car lane, and the Vespa hitting. See, he can't hit. You can hit. He can't hit you. Now, tell me, sir, why is it that you were driving where you were? You were behind him initially.
No, Your Honor, I was
Traveling eastbound down Sunset, heading to work. He was right next to me. When we got to Palm, he turned into me, pushed me. I barely was able to keep control of my vehicle.
Is what you're telling me that your Vespa was never behind his?
Caption coming up.
This you're not getting. I want you to get this right out of your mind. Your whole car isn't worth $10,000. Let's be serious. I don't have all day. Do you have a bill?
And later today.
And I know you're dying to tell me that there was noise there, that you couldn't live there, that it was terrible. Well, that's what happens when you live in a place with a whole bunch of other people.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Kaloyan and Spencer.
Kaloyan Popyanchev claims fellow motorist Spencer Gilbert owes for car damage after hitting him with his Vespa.
Is what you're telling me that your Vespa was never behind his?
No, I was never behind his vehicle.
Do we have any other video?
I do have a dash camera video of the...
May I see it, please?
Footage of a scooter colliding with the side of a car. The scooter crashes into a clump of shrubbery.
Play it again, please. Start from the beginning. So let's go slowly. Okay. Well, it's clear to me, Mr. Gilbert, that you came up behind him. Just go back a little bit. You weren't right next to him because...
I was next to him because as he slows down to make his turn, that's when he makes contact with me.
Slow motion footage of the scooter hitting the passenger side of the car.
I was right next to him the entire time.
Impossible. May I see the police report, please?
Yes, there's actually 2 police reports.
May I see them? Was anybody given a summons on that day? Nobody. Neither party was given a summons, is that correct?
Not that I know of, Your Honor.
Judy reviews the police report.
Okay, so this is the narrative after witnesses were questioned, and the opinion based upon the witnesses' testimony and yours, and the fact that the police officer actually heard in the video the clicking of the turn signal indicating a right turn approximately 5 seconds before the right turn was executed according to the police officer as a result of viewing the cam that he had, the video, that he was making a slow right turn. He had turned on his signal approximately 5 seconds before, and you were coming up on him on your right. And it says, based upon the video footage, I determined that the first car, and that would be his, should not have been placed at fault for this collision because he activated his turn signal and made a safe turn to go southbound on Park Drive. The fault of the collision is on the part of Mr. Gilbert for violating 21-755 CVC, which states in part that the driver of a vehicle may overtake and pass another vehicle on the right only under conditions permitting that movement safely. I'm reading you the police report. Do you have another police report?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Prior to this or after this one?
This is the only police report that I know of.
Oh.
I wasn't aware there was 2.
Well, this was a supplementary police report. What is the date of yours?
All I have is what my lawyers gave me.
Oh, well, I'm going to show you this one, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
And this one was after viewing the cam.
Yes, Your Honor, my police report predates his.
Predates it. Well, that's after the officers looked at the dash cam, heard the signal, and saw you coming up from behind. I'll take it back now. I've seen the damage on your car, sir.
Yes.
Which, while I wouldn't like to have it on my car that's 14 years old, it is on your car. It's not worth $10,000. Your whole car isn't worth $10,000, sir. So if you want to show me a reasonable estimate for fixing that, I'll be more than happy to look at it.
Yes, I do. And this estimate was given to me by the only body shop that is authorized by BMW.
Well, find another body shop for a 14-year-old car. I'm certainly not going to consider giving you anything near the value of your total car for something that is on the door of one side of the car. Have you had the car fixed, sir?
I had the entire door replaced, but it's still...
Replaced by whom?
By a body shop.
Good.
Yeah.
And if you had the whole door replaced, you must have a bill. This you're not getting. I want you to get this right out of your mind. Your whole car isn't worth $10,000. Let's be serious. I don't have all day. Do you have a bill for the door that you replaced from a body shop, which is what I said a moment ago?
No, I do not have it with me. The vehicle is still due paint and dents and scratches repair.
Well, they're going to fix the car, and if they can fix the car for $2,000, have it fixed. That's my judgment. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
Spencer, then Callahan.
Certainly not happy about it.
I am happy. It is something.
The problems that this gentleman's caused my life.
It happened in about 2 seconds.
I was like riding right next to the dude and he just turned into me and I went into the wall and that was pretty much it.
I had to call 911 immediately because I wasn't sure if he's dead.
Because of what he did, I wasn't able to go to work for 2 weeks. I lost 2 of my jobs.
First thing to do is you call 911 and then deal with, the rest of the circumstances.
Sarah and Judy.
One theme that we see far too often is plaintiffs coming here or to any court asking for a large sum of money, in this case $10,000 for a car that wasn't even worth $6,000. And instead of showing us an estimate of fairy tale land of what was going to fix it, show me a receipt for what you paid to fix the damage.
Yeah, he did fix the damage.
He fixed the damage already, replaced the whole door. You don't have a receipt for that. You don't have a bill. You don't have a nothing, which leads me to believe that it was a lot less expensive than $10,000. So I thought your judgment was generous, given that he had no proof. I would have said goodbye.
Well, he did damage the car. Not that I'm going into history, but as one who has, on occasion, hit a stationary object, even allegedly hit a stationary object, and get a little nick on a bumper on a car. It's expensive to fix a car. So he had a car that looked in perfect condition. It wasn't after it was hit. He's entitled to have it look like what it looked like before.
I just felt there was sort of a bait and switch with the $10,000 estimate, but I already got it replaced.
I think that he said that. I think that he said that unintentionally.
I also think he did.
It's okay.
Won't get one over on us.
No.
Case 2090, Oquendo versus Villarreal. All parties, please step forward.
Amber Oquendo is suing her former tenant, Nancy Villarreal, for unpaid rent.
Miss Oquendo, you own a home.
Yes.
How large is the home?
It's 4-bedroom, 2-bath, and approximately 1,700 square feet.
When did you purchase the home?
2018.
Can I ask you what the cost was?
$225,000.
And you live there in the house, just you, with whom?
I don't live in that house. That's my rental.
You bought it as a rental?
Amber nods. Caption coming up.
Somebody was playing their music loud. It was a problem for you.
Yes.
You asked them to be quiet.
Yes,
you
Your
told her it was a problem.
Yes.
And then there was some sort of a kerfuffle. I don't know what happened. You want to tell me?
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Amber and Nancy.
Amber Oquendo claims her former tenant, Nancy Villarreal, owes for unpaid rent. Nancy is countersuing for her security deposit.
Now, you bought it as a rental? You bought it as a business?
Originally, I purchased it and I lived in one room. My kids shared a room and I rented 2 rooms until I was able to establish basically a history of being a landlord. And I then purchased another home and I live in my own residence, and that one is fully a rental as of now.
And also a resident of that home are your parents?
Yes, they are in the master.
And you have another tenant there?
Yes, there are a few other tenants.
Tell me who.
So I have one tenant who has asked not to be identified by name, but he is in one room that I have marked as room number 2. And then I have another tenant who's in room number 3. And then Nancy was in room 4, and there's now a new tenant in that room.
Okay, this is what it's about. The defendant was a tenant of yours. It didn't work out. And it was a short tenancy. I think it lasted no more than a month.
Yeah, right.
Is that right? June of this year?
Yes, Your Honor.
It didn't work out. She left. It is your claim that she left owing you a month's rent. And I assume from your paperwork that the month's rent was $774.
So it was $650, and then the $774, the remaining difference was just for being served and then court costs, but month rent was $650.
$650. And when the defendant moved in the beginning of June, did she sign a lease?
Yes, and I'm just going to correct you, sorry. She moved in May 7th, so just wanted to correct that. But yes, she did sign a lease.
May I see it, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Amber hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You have a copy of your lease, Miss Villarreal?
Yes, I do.
Okay, good.
Judy reviews the document.
So it's a month-to-month tenancy. It's an at-will with 30 days written notice. Okay. According to the lease, there was a security deposit of $650.
Yes, ma'am.
Did the defendant pay that when she moved in?
Yes, she did.
Okay, because that's your counterclaim. You say you want your security deposit back.
Yes, ma'am.
I assume from reading both of your complaint and answer that this turned out to be not a happy tenancy. You don't live there on a full-time basis. The defendant did live there for a short period of time. You moved in, rented a room, and you gave her $650, and you moved in on May 7th.
Yes, Your Honor.
Correct. And you moved out on what date?
I moved out on July the 7th, July the 10th.
So you were there for 2 months?
No, I was there for 1 month.
May to June, June, July. May 7th.
I moved in I believe it was June because I moved out July the 7th.
Our lease was signed on May 7th, so I know that.
Yes, the term of the lease is beginning May 7th. That's the term of the lease, according to this. So I don't care when you moved in.
Okay.
The term of the lease was May 7th on a month-to-month basis. So you were there from May 7th to July 10th. So you were there for 2 months.
Okay.
We're going to get into the whys, wherefores in a moment, but did you pay the month of May?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you pay the month of
Yes,
May?
ma'am.
Good. Did you pay the month of June?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. And you lived there until July 7th?
No, I actually lived there until...
You just told me July 10th, as a matter of fact. Whitney's going to tell me what date you gave as your move-out date. You said it was July 10th.
She said, I moved out on July the 10th.
Okay, July, and it was, yes. July
So you
10th.
were there for 2 months?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, if you were there for 2 months and you only paid 1 month's rent.
Yes.
So far, you owe her 1 month's rent. Did you return her security deposit?
Yes.
Did you receive your security deposit?
Yes, Your Honor.
How much?
$650.
Okay, so you have no counterclaim. The counterclaim is for your security deposit. The rest of it is nonsense. You moved out, you wanted to pay your moving costs, your hotel fees, and everything else. That's ridiculous. Okay, so if you've received your security deposit now, what you owe her is a month's rent, which is $650. And I know you're dying to tell me that there was noise there, that you couldn't live there, that it was terrible. Well, that's what happens when you live in a place with a whole bunch of other people. Did you look at this room before you moved in?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Okay, so you went to the house. When you went to see the house, Amber was there. She introduced herself as the landlord. That's what it says here.
Yes.
And she let you know that she wasn't in the house, that her parents were in the house as tenants, but she wasn't in the house.
Yes.
And you moved in and somebody was making noise. Somebody was playing their music loud. It was a problem for you.
Yes.
You asked them to be quiet.
Yes,
you
Your
told her it was a problem.
Yes.
And then there was some sort of a kerfuffle. I don't know what happened. You want to tell me?
Yes, Your Honor. I am a federal employee, Your Honor. And when I signed this lease back in May, it states there, and I'm also in recovery, Your Honor, and it states very clearly in the lease that there's absolutely no smoking on the premises or no drugs on the premises, Your Honor. There was absolutely marijuana being smoked in the house. And right after I brought that to her attention, I then received a 30-day termination notice.
Okay.
Because I absolutely could not live in that house anymore with my job. I felt it was not a safe place for me.
Where did you go?
Where
Just
did
a
I
second.
go?
Just a second. Is that your son?
This is my son.
Okay. Does he live in the area? I know you called him and he came and helped you move.
Yes,
correct?
ma'am.
Who does he live with?
My son? He rents a room with roommates.
So he has roommates?
Yes.
Tell me where you went when you left. You didn't get a 3-day notice to quit. You got a 30-day notice from her that she was not renewing the lease pursuant to this.
Right.
You chose to leave in 3 days.
Absolutely.
That was your choice.
Because
you had 30 days to stay, and you had a month-to-month tenancy. Okay? You chose to leave. So where did you go?
I got a U-Haul. I didn't really have a place at the time to go, but my boy's grandmother offered her place to me, so I stayed there for a couple weeks. She said, you pay $180, I'll let you stay here for a couple weeks until I was able to find another place, Your Honor.
And then you did?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Great. Okay. So the security deposit you have, and she doesn't have her month's rent, which is $650. Are we done here? Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $650. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Amber, then Nancy.
I am not aware of anyone using marijuana in my house.
There was marijuana being smoked in the house.
My dad says that he's not smelling it, so I guess I can't really attest to the legitimacy of that.
It was not a safe place for me to be.
Judy and Sarah.
You know, some people don't realize, Sarah, that if you...
Employer, Christopher Ricks, for unpaid wages and vandalism.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Case 2094, Joyner Hendrickson versus Ricks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think that I'm going to start out with Mr. Joyner. Who is that? That would be you, because we start with you. He came in later to this scenario, is that right?
Right.
So let me try to understand, Mr. Joyner, what it is that you're suing the defendant for, considering what you wrote to me in your complaint. You were looking for a job. Whatever business you had went south, and you didn't have any money.
That's not true.
Well, let's see.
It was said like that, but we did not lose a...
After losing my jewelry business.
Yes, ma'am. That's not right.
Well, that's what you signed in your complaint.
Yes.
So I can only go by what you signed in your deposition. That you lost your jewelry business, that's what it says. Anyway, you were looking for a job. The defendant has a theater, among other businesses.
Yes, ma'am.
And you sought out the defendant, Mr. Joyner?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me how you sought him out.
I was vending in a coffee shop. I was vending my jewelry. It's not a lost business.
Would you just get on to how you met him?
Definitely. So I was vending there, and I saw at the theater Pride weekend. So I had called Chris Ricks, said, hey, is it okay if I come up there and vend my jewelry?
Just a second. So you called him. Was his name on the poster? How did you find him?
I just called the theater's number, and he answered.
Okay, so you weren't calling him, you were just calling the number.
Yes, ma'am.
So you asked him, can I come and sell my jewelry at your theater? When was that?
That was Wednesday, June 16th, 2022.
Okay, and you were having some sort of an event?
Yes, ma'am.
Did Mr. Joyner come and set up his jewelry booth?
They did, in fact.
Were they charged for that?
No, I did not. I just simply offered the space. They kind of told me their backstory and that they were having financial troubles, and I was trying to do a good deed for the community.
Okay, so you were not charged for the space?
Right. Yes, ma'am.
And you went up there on what date to sell your jewelry?
We started Thursday night, June 17th, 2022.
When you say we, is that you?
All three of us, yes.
Okay, so did you sell any jewelry?
A little bit.
So not much, not enough for the three of you spending a day on the 17th. And then how did it come about that you sought out a job from Mr. Ricks? Because you did seek a job. On what date did you ask him if there was any work?
Thursday night. Thursday the 16th.
And what were you supposed to do?
Supposed to bartend, open, close. That's not accurate.
I'll get to you.
And
what were you supposed to do?
And run the concession stand. Bartend, close, open, and run the concession stand.
During what hours?
4 p.m. that day till 12 a.m., 1 a.m. that night. Could not really remember.
Okay, and did you do that?
Yes.
And you weren't selling your jewelry at that time?
I was going off and on, so anytime he had called me for a different job, I would take that. Sorry.
So the answer is you were doing both?
Yes, ma'am.
So you were doing your own business and doing whatever task Mr. Ricks asked you to do?
Yes.
That was on the 16th. And did he pay you for that work?
Yes, he ended up paying
just
us.
a second. And how much did he give you?
Gave us $264 for that weekend.
Not we.
I gave me $264 that weekend.
Did he work that weekend?
Yes, we all three worked that weekend.
Doing what?
Everything.
Well,
we
Mr.
opened...
Hendrickson is not suing for any wages from him other than for the painting that he did later. I'm asking you, what did you do for him and when, and how much did you get paid?
I did opening, closing duties for him. I ran a bar.
For how many days?
4 days, Your Honor.
4 days.
In the beginning, but I did pick up more stuff whenever he called me for more opportunities. So he would be like, hey, we have jam band tonight. So I would say, okay, I could work.
Okay, so you worked, say, until June 20th, you said, for 4 days, and then you would work after that period of time?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you stop going to the theater for the purposes of doing anything for Mr. Ricks? Month and day?
Oh.
One of the things you're supposed to have, Mr. Joyner, when you come to court, and if you're suing for wages, is you're supposed to have it right here, right in the front of your brain. What date you started, what date you stopped, what hours you worked, what you did. That's what you're supposed to have. Do you understand? Okay. Mr. Ricks, on what date was the last date you saw Mr. Joyner at your theater doing anything?
Saturday, June 25th.
So it would be a fair statement that certain days you saw him between the 16th of June and the 25th of June.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you told me about the 16th that you started working part-time because you were back and forth between your own business and doing something for him, for which actually he gave you free space to sell your jewelry. Now, when you go someplace, you usually pay for space to sell your jewelry, right?
Right.
Well, I mean, I know that because I've had hundreds of cases involving people who rent space in a theater or under a tent or in a yard so that they can sell their jewelry. He gave it to you for nothing.
Yes.
And you're back and forth doing little errands for him on the 16th. Like what? 16th, while you were selling your jewelry. Tell me what you did.
We worked the jam band for them that night.
Not a we. I don't want to hear a we.
I worked the jam band that night. He has like a jazz band that comes in and performs.
And what do you mean you worked?
I worked the concession. I opened, closed, bartended for him, anything that he was calling me over to do.
That's a little too loosey-goosey for me.
No, I can tell
That's a little too loosey-goosey for me. Okay, let's go. What did he do, if you remember, on the 16th?
On the 16th, 17th, and 18th, that's when they had their jewelry set up. He did not work my concession stand at all. He did not work for me that time at all.
That's not
true,
Your
started
Honor.
Don't speak. Do not speak. Do you see I asked you questions? He was quiet. Now it's his turn to speak. Now you have to be quiet. You understand?
He worked Sunday, June 19th, from 9 to 2, which was 5 hours. That was brunch. He worked June the 22nd. They were late. They arrived at 3:12.
You said they arrived.
Both of them came that day.
On the 20th?
On June the 22nd.
22nd.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the first time that both Mr. Joyner and Mr. Hendrickson came together?
To work for me in a theater capacity, yes.
Okay. That's incredible. And that was June 19th?
No, that was June the 22nd. Actually, I misspoke. I apologize. They both worked June 19th for brunch. They both worked June the 22nd. On June the 24th, he had a text meltdown, and then he came to work and worked 5 to 9. I have their hours exactly.
5 to 9, and that's just Mr. Joyner or both of them?
They both came on June the 25th, Your Honor.
And worked from when to when?
On the 25th, which is Saturday, he worked from 5:20 to 10:30. He passed on the concession opportunity where he could have made more money.
No, but he worked doing what?
He trailed me. I was trying to teach him managerial type cash in, cash out, et cetera, and the business situation of the theater, because that's what he proposed to me that he was educated to do. And so
you mean managing a theater?
Yeah, just kind of helped me with open, close duties, overseeing that tasks are done by the other employees, et cetera.
Okay, so it sounds as if he and Mr. Hendrickson worked for a limited number of days.
Correct.
How many days in total?
In the total project, which is painting.
No, not
just the
painting.
theater. Just the theater.
Just in the theater.
Joyner worked 4 days at the theater, and Harland worked 3 days at the theater.
Okay, and how many?
4, I beg your pardon.
4.
Yes, ma'am.
Your last day of work, that was the 25th of June?
Yes, ma'am. At the theater.
I'm talking
18.
about only at the theater.
I think he worked 18 hours, just at a quick glance here.
18 hours during the 4 days.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Hendrickson, how many hours did he work on? You don't have anything in front of you, Mr. Hendrickson, so I assume you have nothing. No physical evidence, is that right?
Correct, Your Honor.
All right, good. How many hours?
Just under 12, actually.
Say 12 hours. So one worked 18 hours, one worked 12 hours. Do you have any data to indicate that those hours are wrong?
No, ma'am.
Okay, great.
Caption coming up.
There was no actual documentation, like we did not have a clock in, clock out, but the 18 hours is not correct, though. We have no data.
You have no data?
Right.
He does.
It's not actual fact. It's not fact.
I don't know whether it's factual. How do I know? You're supposed to keep track.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Noah, Harland, and Christopher.
Noah Joyner and Harlan Hendrickson claim their former employer, Christopher Ricks, owes for unpaid wages and vandalism. Christopher is countersuing for damage to his apartment complex and slander.
Okay, how much were you paid, Mr. Joyner? Because part of it is your wages that you're requesting for working in the theater. How much in total did Mr. Ricks pay you?
$264.
That's for the theater work?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much, Mr. Hendrickson, did Mr. Ricks pay you?
$204.
Sarah, do math for me, would you please? 18 into 264 and 12 into 204. Now, on what date, Mr. Joyner, because this is where it gets sort of fuzzy to me. So far, this is what I'm getting, that the three of you were trying to start a business that was marginally successful in selling jewelry. So far, do we agree on that?
Yes, ma'am.
And as part of selling your jewelry, you approached the defendant, and it was really a cold call. You called a regular number, not Mr. Ricks personally, and told him your story. And he said, well, if you want to come down, I'll give you free space to sell your jewelry. And that was within his theater area.
Yes, ma'am.
So you would say that was very nice of him. And you worked for him, and he showed you the place, he showed you the books, he showed you, you started to do other things. Now, at some point, this is where I go a little fuzzy with you, Mr. Joyner, and maybe you can help me understand you. So you have someone who's been nothing but nice to you so far. On what date did you file a complaint with alcohol and beverage control?
That was July 5th, 2022.
So let me figure this out. So you worked for him at the theater until June 25th. On July 5th, is that what you told me?
Well, after the 25th of June, so we had kind of like a weird period where we were trying to figure out if we still wanted to finish the apartments for him. And
No apartments. We haven't gotten to the apartments yet. I'm going to get to the apartments because he asked you to paint apartments. You went over there, and that's another part of your lawsuit. Just a second. Sarah Rose, how much did Mr. Joyner make per hour?
$14.60.
Minimum wage.
And Mr.
It's
Hendrickson
11 in Arkansas.
would be 17 an hour.
And he made 17 an hour.
Correct, for 12 hours at $200.
But there was no actual.
Hours are not correct.
There was no actual documentation. Like we did not have a clock in, clock out. But the 18 hours is not correct, though. We have no data.
Just a second. You have no data.
Right.
He does.
But there's no it's not actual fact. It's not fact.
I don't know whether it's factual. How do I know? You're supposed to keep track.
Yes, ma'am.
You're supposed to keep track.
We're not the business owners.
Just a second. You want the money.
Theater.
Right now, he's paid you more than the minimum wage for being around. I mean, the theater ran for how many years before they worked for you for 6 days?
Been about a year and a half. I bought it during COVID.
Okay, and this was your first time working in a theater.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so you had no fund of information. He wasn't paying you for expertise. He was paying you for those few days, and you were following him around, opening, closing a stand, whatever you were doing, and you were paid more than the minimum wage, which is, I assume, more than you made selling your jewelry for the 3 days you were there.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Right.
Okay. I'm still going to wait for this answer, because at some point after you stopped working for him at the theater, and after you had mulled over some information that you thought you had acquired while you were working for him, I want you to do a step-by-step why you contacted the authorities, because he does have an alcohol license, right? I assume if you have an alcohol, if you contact, don't look at each other. Just look at me. I'm actually the nastiest one here.
Agree.
Well, so alcohol beverage control. So what information, sir, did you give alcohol beverage control that caused the investigation?
Your Honor, he was not the one that called them, I was.
We both called. So what happened during the time that we were working those 4 days, he would serve other people alcohol. He would get on our asses about IDing people, how to sign the papers for ABC, everything. And I made sure to take a picture of the number. I didn't take a picture of the whole document itself.
What are you talking about? What document?
The ABC paper. Whenever we had to sign the paper saying that if we didn't ID someone and the ABC came in and found out about it, we would be fined and we would be held responsible, not Chris. We had to sign those papers.
Okay.
That stuff.
So you signed the papers.
But during that, after we signed that, we noticed Chris was still giving out free alcohol to people, pouring it, wasn't even checking people's IDs. So I called the ABC and I said, I think there's suspicion that he's giving minors alcohol. Because there were people there that were 19 years old that were coming up to us saying, oh, well, yeah, we're 19, but we're cool with Chris and stuff like that in ways. Like they had a way with Chris or whatever, friends with Chris. We just started working there. We don't know the regulars. We don't know what the life is like.
I'm just trying to think of why you would do that for somebody who was, forget whether I believe you or not, forget the loosey-goosey of what you just told me. Maybe he said,
We actually have a recording that he admitted to giving one of our 19-year-old employees alcohol. Because he said...
And? Just tell me, and? I want to know why you called them on July 5th. You were no longer there. Did that have to do with the painting? Was that before or after you started painting?
That was after we started painting.
Of course it was after you started painting. Now, so let's go to the second part of your lawsuit. Second part of your lawsuit involves the work that you both did for him. You have an apartment complex, Mr. Ricks.
Correct.
And that apartment complex contains how many apartments?
20. I bought it as a rehab.
And
it was completely vacant. And
at the time that you asked them if they wanted to paint it, it was vacant, all 20 units?
Correct.
Tell me, how did you approach Mr. Ricks, or he you, about this house painting job?
We were trying to get away from all the stuff that we were seeing and hearing at the theater. So we asked if he had other jobs for us, and he said he had apartments that needed to be painted last week, and that if we could get in there and finish them, great.
Okay, now I'm going to come back to what you just told me. You just told me that you saw things at the theater, that he served somebody that you know who was 19 alcohol, and that was very distressing to you. So distressing that you said to him, do you have any other work for us?
It wasn't just that
Just a second.
instance.
Just
no,
a
ma'am.
Caption, coming up.
How many hours did you work on each of those days, Mr. Hendrickson?
I do not remember the hours for the days, but I calculated all the hours together, and it was 52.
Well, then you know how many hours you worked.
Technically, yes.
What do you mean, technically, yes?
Whitney grins. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Noah, Harland, and Christopher.
Noah Joyner and Harlan Hendrickson claim their former employer, Christopher Ricks, owes for unpaid wages and vandalism. Christopher is countersuing for damage to his apartment complex and slander.
Okay. Did he take you over to paint the complex in handcuffs? Did he take you over there in a van? Did you ask him for additional work?
He's the only person really in Hot Springs, Arkansas that we felt like we could relate to and feel comfortable working for.
I asked you a very simple question. Give me a very simple answer. Did you ask him for more work?
Yes.
And did he say, I have an apartment complex that needs painting?
Yes.
And did you agree on a price?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the name of the last person that you did painting for? House painting?
I did it for my parents when we built our house, but that's...
Very nice. I also painted a room once in my dining room when I was 24 years old. I actually thought I did a pretty good job. I would not hire myself out as a house painter, but because I painted my parents' living room when I was 12. So the answer is you had
The reason why he was asking us to paint, because he couldn't find someone else to paint for him, because he wasn't paying people.
I didn't ask Noah to paint.
Shh.
That's correct.
Just a second. Sir.
I was not asked to paint.
Sir.
No.
Mr. Joyner, you know where your problem is? Your problem is you were dissatisfied with what you saw at his theater. And then you went, and now I'm speaking. You were dissatisfied with what you saw at his theater. While you were there, working at the theater, you did nothing about it. Zero. Even if it was true, you did nothing about it.
We didn't want to lose our jobs at the time, Your Honor.
You didn't have jobs at the time. You stopped working for him on the 25th of June. You didn't call alcohol until July 5th, you said, so you were no longer working for him in the theater. So it didn't start to bother you, really. June 22nd, June 23rd, June 24th, June 25th, the 26th, the 27th, the 28th, the 29th, the 30th, all the way up until July 5th.
The ABC report was not just filed by me, and it wasn't just on July 5th. There was also another instance where it was filed earlier, but that was with them, and there's no evidence about it.
Just a second. You filed July 5th.
Yes, ma'am.
Now you're going to tell me what happened with the painting, because you finished the painting kerfuffle happened in July. Is that right?
Right.
And it was after the painting kerfuffle that you called alcohol beverage.
Yes,
after the painting kerfuffle.
Well, it was during. It was during.
What?
It was during, kind of, almost.
You're getting the feeling that
it
I'm not
wasn't just me that
you're
filed
getting,
the report
you're
with
getting,
ABC.
Well, just a second. You mean one of these other people who was also jobless?
Filed.
I don't care.
So we shouldn't have reported it at all.
No,
I'm
trying to get to your motive, sir. If it was so abhorrent,
my motive. I have no motive. I am just owed what
don't try to speak over me. Don't try to speak over me. That doesn't
fight for what I'm
work.
owed.
So far, you're not owed a thing for the theater. Now we're getting to the painting. I'm just trying to see what motivates somebody. And I'm not excusing the fact that if Mr. Ricks serves alcohol to minors, that's not a good thing to do. He can get into real difficulty. They conducted an investigation as a result of the calls. All I have to ask you is this. Do you still have your liquor license?
Absolutely.
Okay. Was it ever revoked?
No. and I've had multiple in the state of Arkansas.
So you're not owed any money for the theater. Now we're going to get to the paint. When did you start painting in the complex? Date.
June 27th, 2022.
6/27. Did you paint there 6/28?
Yes.
Did you paint there alone or with Mr. Hendrickson?
Mr. Hendrickson.
Is that correct, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you paint on June 29th?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor.
Did you paint after June 29th?
No, Your Honor.
So you painted there for 3 days. Is that correct?
Actually, 5 days that I was there. I started on the 23rd.
I was there for 3.
And did you work the 23rd?
I worked the 23rd through the 29th.
Just
7 days.
23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th. So you worked weekends?
Yes.
It's not.
Did you work weekends?
I worked the 23rd through the 29th, 7 days.
Well, 7 days. Just a second. Pay attention to me. 7 days includes a weekend,
Yes.
Saturday and Sunday. Did you work
Yes.
Saturday and Sunday?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Not Sunday.
I'm going to go back to you. Did you work Saturday and Sunday?
I worked the morning of Sunday, and I left 3 hours
All right.
after getting there.
Okay, so forget Sunday. Now, how many hours did you work on each of those days, Mr. Hendrickson?
I do not remember the hours for the days, but I calculated all the hours together, and it was 52.
Let me understand what you just said to me. You don't know how many hours in each day, but you calculated them together and came up to 52 hours. Would you repeat what he said to me? Because it's mind-boggling to me.
He said, I do not remember the hours for the days, but I calculated all the hours together, and it was 52.
How do you calculate all
sorry,
the
I
hours?
didn't write Your Honor. I
Let
just
me
need
ask
to be able
my